I'm here to tell you that your whole life can change in a moment. And this is that moment. And this is the word.
Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. For the final time almost, this is your word podcast. People, I don't know what to say anymore. I don't know how to deal with this. I am one half of the final duo. My name is Steve.
You're already getting all busted up, man. Gotta calm down a little bit. We got a long show.
This is crazy, man.
I know, I'm trying to be tough right now, but a little emotional today. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to The Word, the Unofficial PREACHER Podcast. I'm going to tell you straight up that I'm pretty emotional today. I think we're in for a really good show. This might be the best one of the season. Perhaps I'm calling it too soon. I'll let you decide. But Steve,
Yes.
3 years ago and some change, we started this up, man. We turned on the mics and we just started talking about this pilot of this show called Preacher. 3 years and some change later, here we are, man. We have 2 podcasts. We've met some great people along the way. Cast of the show, production crew. It's just been a really, really wild ride. We've talked to some amazing people and we've brought them along with us to this other show. It's crazy, man.
It's an insane time. Like, this was, I honestly was like, there were times where it's just like, well, we're speaking into the void.
It really felt like that at first.
And it felt like, yeah, we were speaking into the void, but we had so much fun that we didn't care. And it just was an amazing ride. I mean, even in the good, the bad, the okay episodes, it was just fun. We had a lot of fun doing the show. It's just, you know, watching the last episode, it was just, I couldn't help but think about, wow, this is it. And not only is this the last episode, I kept on tying it into the podcast. I'm like, and it's the last podcast.
I was up last night probably until about 3 o'clock in the morning taking care of the notes. It's a longer show, and I really wanted to get all of the detail, man. Did you happen to read how many pages the notes are today? Take a guess.
I'm going 7.
Sir, you might want to tack on about 22 extra pages.
Damn.
I mean, it's not all breakdown stuff, but there's some people I wanted to thank, and I just have some extra stuff in here just in case. I wanted to be prepared today, man. I came prepared with 29 pages of notes, man. I'm really excited about it, Steve. How many notes did you bring?
Just in my brain.
In your brain? I can't even be mean and tease you today, dude. I don't want to do it today. Today's a special day. This is our finale, kind of. Can we consider it a finale if we have an extra show?
It is.
We have one more show, but it's different format.
I will say this. This is the last show of The Word as we know it. We're going to do like the call-in show, which is amazing. But then after that, it's going to be maybe you turn on the mic every once in a while, maybe whatever. But as we know it, as the duo, this is it for The Word. It's crazy.
Keep your feeds, though. You never know what's going to happen. Maybe we'll get bored.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do a live reading with voice actors and stuff. Probably not, though. I don't want to get your hopes up. I went a little grand
Here's
there
what I
for
will
a second.
say. Here's what I will say. Dan definitely gets a hair every so often, so trust me. If you get a random feed, it's going to be not only Dan, but it's going to be really good because he does not joke around with this kind of stuff. So be prepared.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to really take up much space in your little iPod collection there. So hold on to the feed, guys, because you never know what can happen in the future. But for now, we have zero plans to do anything else outside of this Saturday where we record with our listeners, which I'm really excited about. But you never know. You just don't.
Life is funny.
Life is freaking hilarious, Steve. Hey, but speaking of Saturday, you guys should all be contacted by the time you hear this. I'm sending out the information today, how to reach me. Make sure you follow the instructions so we can have a good time on Saturday. I'm really looking forward to this. But we have a longer show to do today. It was actually a longer episode, so I think we should be getting to it soon, Steve. However, got a couple of things I needed to say. So last week I told you, and I was dead serious when I said it, that the final episode was was TBD, as in to be determined. Let me explain this, okay? I wasn't crazy. It's from the screener site, from the AMC screener site. Yeah. So every other episode they've ever sent me was already ready to go, had the title and everything. So what am I going to think? Every other show that they've sent me was properly titled. So I had no reason to doubt them. You know what I mean? I thought for sure this was going to be what it was called, TBD. Mm-hmm. I'm glad to say, sir, that it's not called that. As we all know, it's called The End of the World, which is more appropriately titled. Yay, Preacher. Good job.
Yes.
I was a little disappointed in you. I wasn't going to say, but I was.
I remember when it happened, I said, "Are you sure?"
I was so sure, Steve, that I swore on my mama, as I recall. I'm like, I swear on my mama. That's the title. Sorry, Mom.
But the thing is, with Preacher, you never know because it's the last episode. So why wouldn't it be called that? To be determined. Who knows?
I was just thinking, oh, you're trying to be witty, Preacher. But that wasn't it at all.
Use goose.
You know what? Stop with the strong language. There's children listening, Steve.
I know. I'm sorry.
The final one. We can't go out like that.
You're right.
You fucking crazy.
No, you're totally right.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we get going, and we're going to get going, I have one more thing I have to do. One last thing, actually, that I have to do. Steve, go ahead and make the sound. You know what's coming, right?
Got.
There it is, sir. That's what's coming.
It's been a habit lately.
Yeah, I know. I was expecting it. You're starting to like slip or something. I don't know what's up.
Because you're editing. Because you edit, so you hear me do it every week.
That and so much more, Steve. That and so much more. Yeah, guys, I'm going to do this one last time, all right? So perhaps you want to get a hold of the show. You still can. You can even when the show's gone, hit me up a month from now. Hit Steve up a month from now. Let us know how you're doing. Let us know why you're not listening to Heroes of Noise, too, because that's really going to be my concern. I'll talk about that in just a second. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Word, the Unofficial Preacher Podcast. This is a special episode. It's our finale episode. Hey, check this out. If you want to get a hold of the show, and you still can, hit us up at askthewordpodcast@gmail.com. That's askthewordpodcast@gmail.com. On Twitter, hit us up at word_podcast. Yes, we're going to keep that alive for a while. You can reach me, Dan, at DanQPublic, and you can reach Steve at SE_HudsonMusic. Do us another favor. Write this one down. heroesofnoisepodcast@gmail.com. That's going to be our new home. We want you to come along. We've got surprises for you. We've got a big year coming up. We've got a great Halloween episode that's going to be hitting your way real soon. You can go to www.heroesofnoise.com, find all of our information there. Leave us a voicemail. Listen to other podcasts because we like to share the love of all of our other friends that have these podcasts. Subscribe to us on iTunes. You can buy shirts. You can do all kinds of stuff there. It is The Word, the Unofficial Preacher Podcast. Even more importantly, it's Heroes of Noise. With that, I'm going to hand it back over to my man for the last time. This is Steve Eugene Hudson.
That was wonderfully done, Dan. How do you feel about that perfect run-through?
It felt right. I'm feeling good about it. Nice and confident.
So when you say you got... I got information from the Twitter feed, actually.
Yeah.
That you got a little bit emotional doing the notes, man.
I did. It's weird, man. Like every episode this season, right? Watching it on the screener site proves to be a little bit difficult sometimes. So I'm not truly locked in when I'm watching it that first time. I'm just sort of taking it in and getting the frame of it, you know? But every time I break down an episode, I appreciate it for what it is. And I really appreciated this one, man. As I was doing it, I don't know if it was because everything was wrapping up. It was the final one. It was the final time I was going to write notes. Every other time I've ever done this, I'm like, oh, Jesus, I'm so sick of writing notes. This one, I just kept going and going and going. So I don't know if I'm just giving it a little bit of extra love because it's the last show. But yeah, dude, I didn't like get emotional, choked up and stuff.
Yeah.
I just started reflecting and it was just crazy, man. We've come a long way.
This is an important question. Before we even begin the actual breakdown, Dan, how did you like the finale of Preacher?
I actually really loved it, dude. I really got what they were going for. You know what I mean? They had to wrap a lot of things up. Yes, they didn't really get to a lot of stuff from the comic, and we established this already, just like I say every week. But as far as what this version of Preacher has done, I think they wrapped everything up beautifully, actually. I'll explain why as we go on. How about you?
Well, Dan, when I turned on the episode started and I was kind of just like, okay, I'm going to just take it as it is and I'm not going to sit here and complain. That was my goal going in, right, Dan?
Right.
For sure. By the end of the episode, I'm sorry, I got to be real. It was a perfect finale.
It really was, dude. I'm so glad you said that. I would have been mad at you.
Perfect. The last scene, I said, if they didn't do it how the comic does it, the only other way in the world to do it is that way. And I was just blown away.
If I may, real quick, I don't want to interrupt you too much, but I just want to say that I was actually kind of dialing it down a little bit because I didn't know if like I was going to come super positive and you were going to go negative. So I thought I'd kind of meet you in the middle. Dude, I'm ecstatic about this show.
Perfect. It was not okay. It wasn't really, really good. It was the perfect finale for the Preacher show.
There were a few workshops for acting going on in this episode.
Oh, dude.
Call us biased, but Julianne Emery
holy cow,
nailed Featherstone, dude. Like, she's acting a certain way throughout the entire series. We're talking from season 2 on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know her character. You know what she's capable of.
Of course.
This season, she does go a little bit harder. You start to kind of get into the mind of Laura Featherstone. For this finale, what Julianne Emery was doing on screen reminded me of why she's such a great actress. You're like, oh, yeah, okay, this is why they picked her. Like, she killed it. And that scene with her and Ruth Negga was fantastic.
For me, what that scene represented was a salute without saluting each other.
Yeah.
It's I see your persona in myself also. We're talking to ourselves right now. We're so identical. And it's in that scene, it felt like Tulip was like, yeah, but there's one piece you're missing that I have that you don't. And let me tell you what that piece is. And we'll get to that then. But she kind of schools her on, yeah, but you don't have that little thing that I have that will make you really super dope. But anyway, it was just like from the beginning to, oh my God, one of the best scenes, visual scenes in television history for me happened this episode. And not only did they nail it, if you put the quote unquote chair scene with the comic next to each other.
No, it's pretty good, man. And I can actually back that up because I reread it this morning. I got up early. So I'm on.
Wait, the whole comic?
No, yeah, I read all 66 episodes, Steve.
That's impressive.
And the one-offs. Speed reader, baby.
You're one of those speed readers.
Totally.
Yeah, like back in the day, those commercials. I was like, wow, he's one of them.
But I just read the last 2 issues because I wanted to see how it matched up. Because, I mean, let's face it, we've read it multiple times. It's hard to remember everything. Maybe it's because we're getting older. I don't know. But it's hard to remember. There's just so much information packed into this comic. It's really hard to remember. You actually said it perfectly. You said if they weren't going to do it like they did in the comic, there was really no other way they could do that. And that's exactly what they did. Because that scene that you're talking about, dude, I was like, if Steve doesn't like this, like, I don't know him anymore.
Oh my gosh.
Like you're saying, watching it panel to television, very, very close. There's a lot of the same things that are said, a little bit of different placement, of course, but it all makes sense. So speaking of the throne room, let's talk about Mark Harlick for a second. How do you feel he did overall this season?
Well, they didn't really give him anything to bite on until the end of the season.
Right.
He didn't get anything to claw into. Now, once he did, he destroyed.
He really did.
Once they gave him some meat, he destroyed. He was just like, oh, I got this. Don't trip. Like, they did a bunch of, I'm glad that they didn't dwell on the dog thing again. I was really happy about that. I was like, thank the Lord.
No,
goodness gracious.
No, they went full on, like, let's just give him the best lines we can give him. Like, they really did a good job for him. They did great writing for him. Everybody had great writing this episode, except maybe one person. He's only the star of the show, but you know what I mean. No, actually, he did pretty good. I was just kidding around. Like, I'm not really bagging on Dominic Cooper or anything. It's just that in retrospect, I really feel like even though he was the star of the show, it almost seems like they didn't write for Jesse. Like, they wrote this incredible show around Jesse. Does that make sense at all?
He is the canvas on which they painted this show.
Right.
Like, Preacher, yeah, technically, yes. I am the technical star of the show, but they're like, here's what we're going to do. We know that Tulip and Cass are kind of the thing. We know. There's no question about it. We know Hair Star is kind of the thing. So we're going to go ahead and push them more out front. And I love that it didn't seem like Dominic Cooper cared so much. But once you told me that one thing, though, I was like, they really weren't around each other much.
Yeah, it's noticeable, right?
This one was terribly noticeable.
But I don't think that the scenes that they shared together, I'm talking about Ruth Negga and Dominic Cooper, I don't think that the scenes that they shared together were bad at all.
Oh, they were fantastic.
I mean, the emotion was there. I think they did a fantastic job. But yeah, a lot of separation of the characters.
The one part that just broke my heart and said, if they end here, I am going to call this the perfect, not good, not great, perfect finale. When he said, Cassie says something to the effect that says, goodness, I hope so.
Yeah, Jesus, I hope so.
No. And I thought right then, I said, no, he's not. And when they did it, I said, this was a perfect episode. Because when he said, I think I'm going to try something different, it perked my ears and I said, no, Cass.
Don't do it.
I know, but then when he said, Jesus, I hope so. I'm like, oh. And it was not to ruin the whatever, but like he doesn't know. Oh, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
No one knows where they're going, but they hope where I'm going, you'll be there too.
Right.
Sure hope to see you. Now that we know that things exist, we know that for a fact now.
Yeah, it's kind of a crapshoot.
Maybe I will see you. Yeah, exactly. But now that we know who's on the throne, oh goodness, I wish there was one more.
Yeah, I wonder if like the qualifications for entering heaven have changed now.
Here's what I will say. No one's going to just be walking willy-nilly around that place anymore. Because that dude right there. Here's the thing. People, okay, we're going to really start now. But when the light changed on the throne after he did what he did. And then you hear the boots walk. They accentuated the loud boots. And I said, they're doing it, dude. They're doing it! I could not believe they were doing it. And they knew, for some fans, maybe it's only 7. Maybe it's 100. But for that 100, those 100 people, they're going to lose their crap on this scene.
I did. I totally did.
And the way he sat was identical to the comic.
Yeah.
I wonder how many times he had to do that sitting down. Being like, you're close, but not quite there.
He's like, really, guys? I'm just sitting down. Like, that's it, though. No. That's it. You're just sitting down. Do it again.
Like, he sits down and like the way his hat is covering his eye, it's the comic. And he leans like back, like not sitting up. He like lays, it's just, dude. Okay, let's get this on the road.
Yeah, bravo, right. Preacher. But we're going to explain why in just a bit. We're really going to get into this now. So, is there anything else we need to cover before we start, Steve?
No.
All right, then, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, I'm going to say it. Without further ado, I'm bringing you the breakdown, Season 4, Episode 10, the series finale entitled End of the World. Y'all ready? I know I am. Let's do it. Okay, Steve, so we start off, and I'm going, like, I wonder where they are. But it gets answered very quickly because the title card pops up, and it says that we're in North Dakota. We see this soldier that's driving up in a military base. To be truthful, I don't even know if it's a soldier yet, but it's a black SUV that pulls up to this military base. We see this female guard in the car, and she flashes her ID to the guard at the gate. She's let in. Once inside, she hands over a confidential file to her superior. Turns out that it's actually missile launch instructions. This is, of course, going to help bring the apocalypse. There's 2 separate files that are handed to 2 separate soldiers, and they're going to be those key turners. You know, those dudes that sit at the console, turn the key at the same time, make everything go boom. We quickly find out that 2 of the 4 people in this room are actually not who they're supposed to be. It's supposed to be 4 military people in the room, but there's actually 2 military people, Steve, and 2 Grail agents who murder the 2 military people. Mm-hmm. Like, geez.
Soldieristic.
Right. They take their place at the console and they get ready to make things go boom. They're actually getting a live feed of the Apocalypse 2020 review. And then we see the top of Masada because that's where it's going on. It's the very top of Masada. They got a pretty dope amphitheater there. And what's going on is there's that digital counter that's counting down to the apocalypse on the back wall. And we find out that we only have 8 minutes and 58 seconds left until the Christ child dances, Steve. Speaking of that Christ child, we're talking about Humperdoo, of course. We find him sitting in his dressing room with Cassidy, and Cassidy's trying to keep his head up. You know, he's trying to keep his head in the game. Even though Hump's not that intelligent, I get the feeling that he's sort of feeling the weight of what's going on here, or maybe it's just stage fright, but I think he knows that everything's about him at this point because God's been in his ear the whole time.
Dude, here's another wonderful thing. Gilligan did such a great job at everything happening on his face. On everything, just, that's what she said, on his face. And
one last one for good measure, ladies and gentlemen.
Everything happening, and you can see it on his face what's going on, where he's just struggling he's questioning, did I do the right thing? He doesn't know what happened to Jesse and Tulip. What he does know is Jesse and Tulip are so dope, I don't think he thinks they're dead. But he is wondering, should I have done this? Like, now that apocalypse is happening.
Do you think he's torn because he actually has love for Humperdoo now?
I think he had love, but as he's talking to him, he's realizing, oh, wait. He just represents something that I appreciate. Just innocence. And he's rethinking what he did.
I mean, I know we're jumping ahead and everything, but he seemed to get pretty emotional in that one particular scene.
He did, but he also did something later. And if he really thought he was super innocent and all this stuff, he wouldn't have done what he did. He just knows, for once, I'm going to make a decision for me. Because even later on, he said, you know what? You've been screwing me over this whole time. He finally did something that he wanted to do. And I think this is one of those things like, I'm going to do what I want to do. You guys have been doing what you want to do this whole freaking time. I'm going to do something I want to do. And I loved it. I was like, yeah, skip that. I loved it.
Cool. All right. Well, anyway, this Cassidy character, we talk about him from time to time. He's talking to Humperdinck and he's like, come on, Hump. It'll be fun. A little dancing, little music. Besides, you look good. You look like a dead ringer for Gene Kelly if he's been struck by lightning. It's cold-blooded. And then from the corner of the room, we hear God, who starts laughing. He's like, Gene Kelly. I could tell you stories about Gene Kelly.
Oh, he's the worst. They are making him that guy. And I'm like, yep, I believe he is. No question.
There's different forms of that guy, though, and he kind of fits them all when it comes to being that guy. Like I said last episode, but this time he wasn't quite as menacing, at least in this part of the show, but he was like that mob boss that made everybody uncomfortable and uneasy, you know, when he's around. No one really knows how to behave. They just let him say whatever he has to say because he's freaking the boss. Like, what are they going to do?
Yes.
But everyone kind of cowers around him.
They went the direction of, you know, the Bible says, I'm a jealous God. They took that and made it literal, which is why at the end it works what he's doing, because he says, I'm a jealous God and, you know, you shouldn't have anyone before me. And so when Jesse says what he says to him, he can't do anything because he's like, wait, that's all I want. And Jesse's like, nah, I know that's what you want because that's what you wrote and it's not going to happen. I thought it was genius, which is why he wants to be the center of attention. Whenever something is happening that he's there, he'll put his face in it and be like, what about me? I also knew that thing. It's just, the writers, man.
God's sitting there, he's talking about Gene Kelly, and then we hear the crowd start to cheer, right? So God's like, you know what? Let me save these stories for later. I don't want to miss the show. He gives Humperdinck a smooch on the cheek, gives Cass a little pat on the back, and he heads on out. But Cass is kind of puzzled by the whole thing. He's a little bit disgusted by it, too. And he asks God, he's like, why all the production? Since you're God, why don't you just blow up the world yourself? And God tells him, that's cheating. You all have to play your part. Free will, that's the fun. And leaves the room. And Cass just comes up with the conclusion that God just likes to watch.
They're making it so that people have free will, but also God is kind of being like, well, not so much. If you do what I don't like, I'm going to screw you over. And that's why it's just like, really? Free will, is it? Is that what it is? Or you'll just demolish the earth in a few minutes?
Right.
That's what we're going to...
It's free will until it's not.
And Cassidy is not freaking out on the apocalypse at all.
I think all the characters in this show are very calm for all the stuff that's going on.
Yes.
Like they just handle it like pros. I would not be that way, Steve. I'd be freaking out.
Because you're not a G like myself.
Oh, you think you could handle all that, huh? You can roll with them in this world?
For sure.
All right. I don't know. You might be Humperdinck or something like that.
I'd be the voice of reason. I'd invite God to like a Italian restaurant and make a deal.
Hey, God, how you doing? Sit down. You look good. How's your mother? You tell her I said hello. Now, you don't really want to buy that property on 105th, do you? I didn't think so.
It's that easy.
I don't know why every one of my characters sounds like that, but that's how it is.
I mean, look, listen. I think I kind of set it up that way right when I said it. But I thought that's where deals were made in Italian restaurants.
Have you ever made a deal in an Italian restaurant before, Steve? Maybe
yes.
Even like an Olive Garden or something?
I have.
Over breadsticks?
Well, I think I've had... recently, I went to an Italian restaurant. I didn't make a deal there, but it was very much the guy kind of talked like you just did, the waiter. And I was like, is that a real thing? Do you really talk like that?
The waiter talk that way?
Yeah, kind of like, hey, welcome to like that thing.
Hey, you rat bastards. Come over here and give me a hug, you prick.
And he had a really deep voice. Hey, how you doing? I was like, wow, this is interesting.
How you's doing?
And it made me feel very, I was like, man, I'm in an authentic restaurant in Clovis.
Steve getting local again.
My bad. Go on. Let's move on. Let's move forward.
So getting back to God, he goes out to the crowd. He takes his place in the audience, and the announcer finally speaks. Like, it's time for the big show, right? And he's all, who's ready for the Messiah? because that's how announcers talk.
Of
and then we
course.
get our last preacher title card, the very last one.
The last one, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, this is where I went, oh, okay, This is really happening. I'm not kidding either. I know maybe I sound like a huge cheeseball, but I'm telling you, these little final things like, oh, last time I'll see that. Last time those people are going to be on the screen together. All of this is what was going through my head. After you see the theme, we go to commercial break. And when we come back, we find Jesse and the Santa Killers, and they're duking it out in the Grail's chapel. Santa Killers picks Jesse up by the neck, throws him to the ground, pulls his pistol on him, and Jesse tells him, go ahead, but the parents will not be happy. And he's talking about Genesis' parents, of course. At that moment, Santa Killers hears a little something behind him, like a little rattling or something like that. He turns around and he fires, but the bullet is deflected by the Archangel's sword. So, is that something that's established in the book, Steve? Is the Archangel's sword, or maybe not even necessarily the Archangel's sword, is there anything else that's more powerful than Santa Killer's guns?
No, I don't remember.
So this is a new edition,
this is
right?
a new edition, like freaking Bobby, Ricky, Mike, and them. Yes.
Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike. If they love the girl, who cares who you like?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you better cool it now. Come on now.
Wow.
That's for like 6 of you out there.
I could not believe that you just did that, Dan. That's probably the most impressive thing you've ever quoted.
I'm full of surprises.
I mean, holy cow. I don't
and
even
it's
think
early in the show, so look out.
I don't think anybody's going to get a new edition thing. I don't think one of our listeners will.
No, that you're not giving these people any credit.
Bruh, I don't
Well, you think there's just a bunch of youngsters out there?
Yes. Hey, this is your chance. When you call in on Saturday, I want someone to say that they understood the new edition thing.
Right. Oh, hey, speaking of real quick, I'm going to go back to the breakdown just a second. But guys, if you're coming on the show, remember you got our RSVP. And also, think about what you want to say. You guys are going to have 15 to 20 minutes to say whatever you want. Bring it. Can't wait. Anyway, let's get back to the show. So the bullet's deflected by this magical sword, this new element to the Preacher lore now. It actually is stronger than the Santa Killer's bullets, right? And when the Saint looks up, he sees that the Archangel and the demon are there, and they're ready to throw down. Jesse cracks a little joke. He's like, looks like someone brought a gun to a knife fight. Jesse with his jokes, man.
Tell me about it.
Now from here, Steve, we already talked about it just a tiny little bit, but we get this absolutely amazing scene between Featherstone and Tulip. So Featherstone has finally realized the truth about Hairstar, and she's crushed by it, right? So she starts spilling her soul to Tulip. This scene is really too good not to give you the actual footage of it, so I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Here we go.
Knoxville, Tennessee. Waitressing, substitute teaching, whatever. My real job was running cooks and making bad choices. Sleeping with cops. Dealing weed to 8th graders. I was lost. Until I met Klaus. Saw his strengths. His humorless cruelty. I was lost all over again.
Oh, yeah. Nothing like humorless cruelty to get you going.
Shut up! I'm so sick and tired of you non-believers smoking and smirking and just thinking of themselves and what they're gonna get. Well, you don't have to think anymore. Because when the righteous lays down with the wicked, this is what they get. Damn it, Sarah, you can't do anything right.
There? Sometimes with the 6 hour, when the frying pan gets hot.
Jams, I know.
True what you say about selfishness in the world. Sometimes doing what's right for you, and just you, no cause, no religion, no man, it ain't selfish at all. Sometimes it's It's just righteous. Now, this is fixed. But I'm gonna keep it.
I got tons of them.
Here's what I love about this scene. Tulip doesn't even consider shooting her. She just takes the gun. Okay, now, this proves that Tulip is a step above Featherstone in the game. Because she understood exactly what was wrong with the gun. She's like, yeah, these things jam.
Well, to be fair, though, she's like, yeah, I know they jam.
She legit wanted to kill herself so much that probably she forgot about those guns jamming. But I love that Tulip didn't even think of shooting her. She's like, you know what? No, this isn't going to happen. We are like we would be sisters sort of in another world. What she's going through, all she needs is to handle whoever did this to her. And unfortunately, I think she just underestimated. Like, Hairstar wouldn't have gotten the drop on Tulip because Tulip doesn't have conversations. She would have just walked in there and shot him.
Well, the comic has proved that he definitely won't get the drop on her.
Won't or will?
Won't.
Yes. And in this this show, there's no way. I think, unfortunately, we'll get to it later, but Featherstone commits the travesty that most people do.
You can't monologue, man.
Exactly. That is the classic problem, because that's when they focus on the finger reaching for the trigger behind the back.
I don't know how the old Batman and Robin made it through anything. Like, he would announce everything that he was going to do, and no one would kill him. They'd wait.
Exactly. Also, we didn't know that in the Arch Nemesis handbook, it says, unfortunately, before you die, or when you have them tied up, you have to tell them what your plans are. That's the rules.
Exactly.
You have to. All right, anyway, let's move on.
Before we finish that scene, I love that Tulip gets that real super chill voice sometimes. Do you know what I'm talking about? When, like, all the twang goes out of her voice and she's not, like, really, listen, we need to do this, or where is he, Cass, or just any like that. She's just like, yeah, sometimes the bullet jams in there and you gotta, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
she gets that real chill vibe about her voice, and I really like
chill.
that, man. Yeah, she's the coolest, man. Who knew that we were going to love her so much when the show started? So as Tulip shuts the door, remember now, we were in that office where the accountant was last time. So she shuts the door and that accountant falls from the wall. If you'll recall, folks, God basically, what did we call it last week? I want to say force throw, and I know that's not it. Remember he did you called it something.
The death swipe.
The death swipe. Thank you very much. God did the death swipe and threw this dude into the wall and pretty much just stuck him there. It was great. And he had a hard time with this, because if you hear on the audio clip, and of course if you watch it in the show, Featherstone takes her aggression out on the dead body too. She's like, shut up! Bang, bang, bang! Yeah, so several things have happened to this body. It was a bad day to be an accountant at the Grail. But now we're watching Jesus and Hitler throwing down. And this is going to play out soon enough. It's a very quick scene. Don't know why they put so many of these in, but I'm going to be nice this episode and just say that we'll get back to it soon enough.
Yes, I mean, it's a perfect episode. If there was something less than perfect, it's this.
Right.
But I still think it's perfect.
I'm always stuck on something with each season. Last time it was the way that Cass could kind of go out into the sun. You know, this time it's the whole Jesus Hitler thing. But I'm fine, everybody. It's cool. Don't worry about it. We're going to have a great time.
Yes.
Let's get back to Star for a second, because he's struggling with that damn fax machine still. He's getting very little help from the IT guy. I believe his name was Adnan.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And Adnan wants to send an in-house serviceman to him, but Star's telling him, like, there's no time. The world is ending today. But of course, Adnan's like, please hold. Fucking Adnan. Ridiculous. Back at the big show, though, God is patiently waiting. He's in the audience now. He's just kind of chilling to himself. You know, he's trying to be a celebrity amongst people that are not celebrities. But there's that couple that's in front of him. They start talking to him. And they're doing that thing where they can't take social cues. They can't tell that they're pestering him, you know? So the husband introduces himself, and as well as his wife, of course, and God shakes her hand, tries to be very gracious, and he's like, the pleasure is mine.
Oddly gracious for God. He would have just snapped his finger and be like, goodbye.
True, but at this point, he's thinking that everyone's going to be dead in just a matter of minutes anyway.
You're right. You're right.
So he's like, yeah, okay, you'll die soon enough. But this small interaction isn't enough for this guy, right? He just keeps on and keeps on. And he hits God with the, while I have your attention, can I bend your ear for a second? Because I have lots of questions.
Which I can't hate on that. If you run into
lots
God,
of questions
I'd
too.
have a lot of questions.
Yeah, like if there's someone to ask questions to, God would be the one.
Oh, yes.
He gives up lots of information to Jesse later on in the show, though. But different relationship, of course. Yeah, he has to. Exactly. But God's spared from all this question answering because the announcer kicks in. He's like, and now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've been waiting for 2,000 years, the Messiah. And the crowd goes crazy, waving their foam fingers. I don't know if you noticed it or not, but the foam fingers they had Humperdoo's face on them.
I did not know that.
They spared no expense. Yeah, the popcorn was the Grail color. They had pom-poms. They had the whole bit. So from backstage, Cass hears the announcement that it's time for Humperdoo to go on, but he's having a little difficulty getting this to happen. On top of that, Steve, he gets an unannounced visitor. So let's go ahead and play that.
Okay.
Showtime. Look, I don't like it either, but this is the deal, so come on. Don't give me that. We were going to kill you.
No.
Come on. You can't hide in the clothes. Don't hide in the clothes.
No.
Get out. Now, you're all going to die anyway. Come on.
What are you doing, Cass?
Ooh, it's about to get interesting, ladies and gentlemen.
Tulip just found out where Cass disappeared to, and she is not happy about it.
Nope.
She doesn't know the whole story yet or anything like that, but
she can smell
this isn't going to turn out very well. Yeah, she can smell it exactly. But, more on that later, of course, because this show likes to jump around.
Oh, yes. Just like House
now
of
we're
Pain.
back in the... Exactly. Jump up, and get down. And when we're down, we land in the chapel again, and we're watching Saint of Killers go on with this full-on battle with the Archangel and the Demon, a.k.a. Genesis' parents. Meanwhile, Jesse's just trying to stay out of it. He's like crawling around the pews. And he's, crawling on the floor, just trying to get away. And the Demon gets the pretty good slash in the Saint of Killer's face. He should have done the Bruce Lee thing. You know what I'm talking about? Where he tastes the blood.
Yeah, and spit.
That'd have been so dope.
Yeah, and all this, dude can fight legit.
Well, he was a trained killer in real life, too.
Yes, but I didn't know, that is crazy how well he's fighting. And I love that they're just like, yeah, just suspend your disbelief. The angel is not as good as a fighter as him. Just, you have to go with that. That's what it is. And it worked for me. It totally worked for me.
You know what I liked about this? It was like a fisticuffs night all the way around.
Oh, yes.
They're going off, and then Jesus and Hitler are going off. They're still doing their thing, and Hitler gets a few shots in before Jesus starts to wipe the floor with him, man. Jesus can fight a little bit.
Oh, yes.
A little bit. Hitler can hold his own, apparently, because they're fighting pretty much throughout this entire episode. But yeah, Jesus can do his thing.
I did not know that the Archangel could just die from a knife to the stomach.
Spoilers, Steve.
My bad.
Holy moly.
He's still alive.
Dang. Steve's so quick to pop. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to do it.
No, that one was fully intentional,
Okay,
Steve. You feel free. Yeah,
Good.
that one
All
was
right, good.
that was the real deal. There was no insinuation whatsoever. That's the word on the street, brother. I hate to tell you that.
Well, it's true.
Hey, you know what I liked about this scene? They do that cool comic panel thing again, which I really feel they should have just been doing from the get-go because it looks really good, and I think it adds something to the Preacher series. You know what I mean? It made it look more like where it came from.
Yes.
So they do this panel thing, and it shows Jesus fighting with Hitler. Jesus throws him across the room. He's like, come on! And Hitler calls Jesus a hippie wimp, and Jesus encounters with the good old-fashioned fastest pig. And then the comic panels continue, and they show every battle happening at the same time. They got Saint of Killers and Genesis' parents fighting, Hitler and Jesus fighting, and of course Star in the fax machine. He's fighting with that too. They also include the final 20 seconds of the countdown to the apocalypse, as well as Featherstone, who's getting ready to make the most important move of her life. She pulls a gun from her leg holster and walks out the door. And then with 6 seconds left on the clock, Steve, Cass and Tulip now enter the panels, and they get face-to-face, and they're ready to do their thing now. All of this cuts for a second, though, and we're now in this Australian hospital, and there's a very bandaged Eugene sitting there. This thing was kind of funny. The doctor walks in, and he tells him, okay, let's remove the bandages. He tells Eugene he's experienced a great trauma, but he's going to be fine, and he asks the nurse to grab a mirror. And then he tells Eugene that the plastic surgeons had been working day and night on him, and he's become a bit of a passion project of theirs. So naturally, they're all curious to see how things turned out. And all the while he's taking these bandages off, his sentence gets cut short because he gasps when he sees Eugene without his bandages on. And hilariously, he looks exactly the same.
He looks exactly
He's got like he's just got a couple of stitches in his forehead, but nothing more. But everyone's screaming and gasping and gagging, and the doctor's like, have some respect, people. It's still a human being. He said, it's. That's fucked up.
Eugene's storyline was candy. It was just fun.
Yeah, you know what? I'm okay with how everything turned out for
Yeah.
him. I think that Ian Coletti, I mean, we're jumping ahead, but I think Ian Coletti kind of got a little underused.
Oh, for sure.
Or maybe not used in the way that we would have wanted him to, but I think that they closed off his story very well. They closed everyone's story off, man, except for one person, but I think we'll disagree.
Dude, we are definitely going to disagree with that. That's perfect.
We'll see.
Perfection.
We'll see. But anyway, let's go back to the chapel. They're still battling in there, right? And I'm not entirely sure if the Saint of Killers is aware that this couple can literally battle for months on end. You figure they'd be a little bit tired, but they're holding their own with him. Archangel makes a calculation error, and he ends up, like you were saying, Steve, Mr. Spoilers, he gets stabbed through the chest by the Saint of Killers, and he crawls away as the demon takes over the fight now. So she's got his back. So when the Archangel reaches Jesse, who's still hiding on the floor, by the way, he tells him, he got me right in the pancreas. And Jesse's all, but you'll come... It's very specific. I can't make insulin anymore. Jesse's not really tripping on it, though. He's like, but you'll come back to life, right? But all the Archangel gets out is, I just shat myself. I haven't done that since. And Jesse interrupts, and he's like, he can't kill you. The angel tells Jesse that he thinks Saint of Killers, or that boy as he calls him, can kill anything.
I still don't know what gave him the idea that he has later.
I'm going to just go ahead and chalk it up to good old-fashioned know-how, man. Ingenuity. Being quick on your feet. Improvisation.
He literally gets the idea then. I'm like, what?
We didn't see the whole thing. Maybe they had a quick little... You remember like in the movies where they'll be like, I think I know how to do this. And then someone will put their mouth to someone's ear and it's like... I think that's when it happened.
Oh, you didn't tell me. Okay, I didn't know that happened. Okay, cool.
Jesse's like... And then like Saint of Killer's like, mm-hmm. Yes,
right.
yes.
I'm bugging.
Yeah.
You're right. No, you're
I
right.
think that was actually filmed, but they cut it out for time.
You're right. You're right. I'm tripping.
The Archangel tells Jesse to do the right thing. And then we hear the demon get stabbed by the Saint of Killers. And Jesse asks what the right thing even means. And the angel just mutters, Genesis, before passing away. They don't come back after the Saint gets him, Steve.
Which is weird. I was like, okay, so his sword can, no matter what he does, if he breaks your neck, you're dead.
Yeah, I think it's just his killing hand. You die by his hand.
There it is. Okay, cool. Which is awesome. Which is dope. That's an added thing.
Speaking of killing someone with your hands and being awesome, the Saint goes over to the demon and he puts 2 slugs in her right away, right? Kills her. But this doesn't stop him from, taking his sword out and slashing her like 375 times as Jesse's watching. Like, he's really having a field day with this. Jesse's kind of looking at her like, damn, like you really are the Saint of Killers.
You're really mad that this happened and it took this long.
You are really, really aggressive, sir.
Yes.
He tries to crawl over to the Archangel's sword to have a little battle with him, I guess, because that's a pretty badass sword. I personally would want that sword. But the Saint beats him to it, steps on the sword, and realizing that he's beat already, Jesse just backs away and tells him, all right, you win. The Saint cocks his gun and he says, goodbye, preacher. But before he pulls the trigger, they both notice that there's this eerie silence that's filling the air. And Jesse's like, you hear that? Peace and quiet. Family picnics, planting a garden. That's what he's offering, and that's what you want. So go on. One last kill, if that's really what you want. And then we cut to Hitler and Jesus again, and they're still doing their thing. This time they're getting all motley crew and thrashing the room around and breaking tables and putting holes in walls. And Hitler tries to get Jesus in a half Nelson, right? But Jesus does this cool thing. I don't know if this was intentional, but it has to be, right? Hitler's got Jesus in a half Nelson. Jesus jumps up in the air and puts his arms out like he's on the crucifix and then just body slams him. Yeah, that had to be intentional, right?
It had to be, yes.
He's like, cross death. And that one looked like it freaking hurt too, because it kind of chilled him out for a little bit. But we don't really know exactly what happened, because right at that point, we flash back to Cass and Tulip now, and they really are not happy to see each other. I really think that this was one of the best scenes of the episode. If not, Steve, maybe the series. And I'm particularly talking about how Ruth Negga and Joseph Gilgan interact with each other in this.
Oh,
it's
dude.
so fucking good.
Oh, it's so good.
If he lives, everyone dies. You get that, right?
It's not my problem. Homecoming wearing the clothes.
What the hell is wrong with you? Jesse? I love him. Ever since I was a little kid. I never stopped. He came back and I get that sucks a little bit for you. I get it. But you want to blow up the whole world because of it? Wise up, quit acting like a baby and move. Move! What do you want me to say, huh? You're my best friend. No one, and I mean no one, makes me laugh like you do. And you know I love you,
Only
but...
when I'm sad. When I need a little shag. You've hit me a lot. And honestly, I let it go because I love you. So I just let you hurt me. But I am so done. And if you hit me like that again, honestly, I'm gonna fucking kill you.
I'm sorry.
Bro, I absolutely loved this scene.
It was so good.
Cassidy is a freaking beast. He's done being struck repeatedly by a mortal. You know, I mean, he literally is a beast. He's a vampire, and he's been very lenient towards her because he loves her. But he's done taking her shit. And when he said, I'm going to fucking kill you, it kind of blew my mind. I was like, oh, this is the Cassidy that we've been asking for.
But see, also, Tulip was like, sorry, and it hit him again.
She's
like, you're not going... No one on this planet says either you do this or else to me. So you're just going to have to kill me today.
Right.
And there were times where he swung at her and like broke the wall behind her.
Right.
So if it would have connected, it would have killed her.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Do you think, okay, because we know how the scene turns out, right?
Yes.
So do you think he just said, you know what, I'm going to hold back. I know she can take it. I'm going to give her an ass whipping. Because sometimes he'd hit her. He hit her a bunch, actually. But then he hits the wall, like you said, and the stone explodes. So do you think that he was just kind of holding back?
Yes. Let me tell you why. Because one time she looked up and he was behind her. Yes. He could have done that the whole time.
Right.
He could have been like, you'll never be able to see where I'm at. I can just do that, jump on you, rip out your throat, and this whole interaction's done. But I'm not going to do that to you because I love you. I won't do that to you. But he could have ended the interaction in seconds.
Right. So as they're fighting, the crowd's getting super antsy, waiting for Humperdoo to take the stage, right? So they all join in unison and sing that song about protecting Christ and protect him. Remember that one that the Book of Mormon looking guy sang?
Yep.
They all join in on that. And the couple in the front of God is still talking his ear off, right? And the husband's yammering on about how another man is playing grab ass with his wife. And she's like, no, he just texted me, you know, and God's just like over it. He doesn't even want to hear any of this. Now, this is where shit starts to get real. This is where we have to take our hat off for a moment and be a little more somber when we talk. Featherstone has Star at gunpoint. For obvious reasons, you're getting this clip.
You're disappointed in me.
You're just another unbeliever. Stand up and get on the tarp.
And you believe what exactly?
Duty. Service. Righteousness. Toiling in a harsh and hateful life to be rewarded in paradise.
Life is not a thing to pass through. Life is the thing itself. Look there, the particulates of dust dancing in the window light. Nothing very hateful about that, is there? I just got off the phone with a submarine commander in the Egyptian Navy. While the world turns to ash, we'll make our escape.
No. You're getting on the tarp.
We're going to live under the sea, you and I. Eating, yoga, talking about books we like, pleasuring you repeatedly with my anus. I don't think you'll get that kind of offer from paradise. You are of great value to me, Flufferman. And you always have been.
Sorry, sir. But my name is Featherstone.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to say rest in peace to Lara Sarah Featherstone. And again, thanks to Julianne Emery for this amazing portrayal of her. See, like season 4 was definitely the best Featherstone we got. And I got to tell you, dude, I didn't really like seeing her with a hole in her skull. I'm not even going to front.
It sucked because, I won't say it sucked. It was a great send-off because I loved how she just fell back.
Right.
And it was over. And again, you cannot underestimate Hair Star.
Or monologue before you're going to kill somebody.
Exactly. And the thing is, though, one thing I will say is she didn't see how crazy he was during his training.
No.
So she didn't know how dope he was. So who would have thunk?
I mean, she studied him pretty well, but yeah, he's not going to give all of his secrets away, of course.
No.
But I think she really screwed up mostly when she's like, get on the tarp.
Oh, yeah.
If he would have just got on the plastic and let her kill, like, there's no story there, of course. So she's telling Hair Star, he's going to listen to her, get on the tarp. She wasted a good, 10, 15 seconds with that bullshit?
Oh.
And that's what happens. Featherstone is dead.
Wonderful job, Julianne Emery. Salute forever. Friend of the show. You killed, you demolished. What a great portrayal. We send you off with a salute and a huge applause. Great job.
Julianne Emery, friend of the show, ladies and gentlemen.
Friend of Dan.
No, I mean, you too.
No, she's a friend of Dan. You're her friend. I just was invited to a dinner with you guys, and I left while you guys were still talking.
I can dig that, yeah.
Thanks for coming. See you later. Talk to you later. And then I leave, and you guys are like, anyway, what we really wanted to talk about, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you walk back from the bathroom, and we're in the middle of a conversation, and we got kind of stop, and we just look at you. And you're like, oh, did I interrupt us? We're like, no, it's cool.
Or even better,
try to play it off.
It is. You come in and I come back in from the bathroom when you guys are talking, and I'm just like, hey, how you guys doing? He's like, yeah, you guys are talking. What about giraffe necks? And you guys laugh. I'm like, yeah, what are you guys talking? Oh, you had to have been there. You had to have been there. Don't worry about it.
Nothing. It's nothing.
It's nothing.
Julianne, peace out. We love you.
Yes, that's funny, man. It's nothing.
And you know, like, everyone's been in that situation too.
Oh, I have totally. That's why when you're like, it's nothing, I was like, I've heard that. I've literally heard that before.
I won't go into it, but I actually had a situation like that this weekend.
Oh, shut up.
I was talking about private matters at work with a coworker, and another coworker that I'm not as close with came in. I turned around and they're there, and we did that whole, oh, hey. And the person was just like, yeah, I'm just eavesdropping. We're like, oh, okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and go over here now.
Exactly. We're going to go ahead and talk about, so how about those scans, huh?
So how about important stuff that's not important at all? Yes, exactly. Hey, Steve, let's go back to the chapel one more time. Mm-hmm. The situation has changed a little bit. Actually, you know what? Actually, it's changed drastically. Saint of Killers gets on his knees. This is what you were talking about earlier. Gets on his knees. He takes off his hat. And Jesse takes his sword and slashes the Saint of Killer's throat. He falls to the floor dead. Jesse drops the sword at his feet, and he leaves the chapel. I don't know why he dropped the sword. That's a good sword. You don't leave those things behind.
That's a very strange thing.
Like I said, if I knew that certain doom was waiting for me, and I had that sword, a sword that could take out the Saint of Killers, I would personally keep it on me, but Jesse got to do Jesse. We get another commercial break, and when we return, Cass and Tulip are in the middle of kicking each other's asses. Humperdew is now hiding behind his wardrobe rack. He's scared to death, and they're just going at it. Tulip stabs Cassidy in the neck with a point. I think it was like the pointy end of one of those really thin combs. I think that's what it was. Stabs him in the neck. Blood starts shooting out. And then he throws her into a mirror. And because it's the last episode, I'm not really going to question, like we were talking about a little bit, I'm not going to question that mortal strength versus vampire strength. Again, now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably because he was holding back.
Oh, for sure.
I'm going to point it out, though, because if that's not the case, you have to suspend your disbelief, basically. We go back to the Apocalypse Review audience, and they are turning into an angry mob now. I mean, they've resorted to booing and jeering and throwing things. You ever jeered at anybody before?
I have not jeered. Oh, well, I have when I was at Medieval Times and they make you boo.
That's booing, though. Did you jeer?
What is a jeer?
I think jeer is like shit talking.
You suck!
Yeah, exactly. Get off the stage! That's jeering.
I have never jeered someone.
I have jeered. Go to WWE. I've gone to WWE things. They want that.
Oh, yeah.
Hockey matches. I don't care if they want it. Yeah, I'm jeering at those too. And throwing things I don't do because you can put out an eye. It's all fun and games until someone loses an eye.
You can put out an eye. It's true. I've never jeered.
You know what? Don't start now. You're a good guy.
I won't. I'm too old to jeer.
But the crowd is not, apparently. They're like jeering the shit out of the poor piano player. Poor guy's just trying to sit there and simulate some form of progress going on the stage. And people are like, boo, you suck. And they're jeering at him again. It's a lot of jeering going on, Steve.
Bad scene.
We cut over to those two Grail soldiers in the missile launch site. And they're watching this go down on the live feed. And the male agent points out that the clock has already ran down to 0. But the female agent is like, he's got to dance, so we're not doing anything until he does. Now, by this point, the audience has gotten super cultist, right? And they're now chanting, kill us all, kill us all. Everyone's doing it except for God, of course. He can't even think clearly because those people in the front are just like talking his freaking head off about their marital problems. And he finds a really good distraction. He actually says, I wonder where the Holy Child is. And he suggests that maybe they should go and find him. And the husband's like, but I didn't finish my story. And God's like, or not, it's your apocalypse. You can die some other day if you want to.
Yeah.
I like that that's kind of a punishment. Well, then you can just die some other day.
He's a baby.
He's a big temper tantrum baby, but we don't know anything about that in America. Anyway, I'll proceed. So the wife's like, I want to die today, though. She's like, let's go. So she leads her husband off, and they go and search for Humperdoo. Now, back in his dressing room, the fight's still going on. Tulip and Cass are still kicking each other's ass. And for once, you were talking about this, you'd mentioned this. For once, Cass actually uses that vampire power, and he moves so swiftly and quickly that Tulip actually swings into air. Really missed opportunity, man. They really should have used this more often because it was cool. Like, oh, look at Cass doing his thing. They threw everything in but the kitchen sink on this episode, and I'm totally appreciative of it.
Love it.
But I really wish they would have done that a little more throughout the series. At least we got it on the finale, though. What are you going to do?
I mean, I'll take it. I love this fight scene. Loved it.
You took it and you liked it, sir. So anyway, this couple that was pestering God have found their way back to Humperdoo's dressing room, right? And they're pounding on the door and calling for the Messiah. And they're moved aside by this big old Grail soldier that comes up. Big old dude. From behind said door, Cass has now gotten on top of Tulip. But not in that good way. He's actually on top of her and he's strangling her, right?
He's holding back. He's holding back.
He's holding back because if he's crushing stone, why is he not crushing trachea?
Yes.
But he's putting a hurt on her for sure. Like that's definitely going to leave some marks on her neck. I'm sure of it.
Hey, Dr. Dan.
Yes, sir.
What's the difference between a larynx and a trachea?
Trachea is your windpipe. And the larynx is like a cartilaginous organ that kind of holds all the vocal cords together and everything. It's essentially the voice box.
Oh, that makes sense. So if my trachea gets busted, I'm in trouble.
You're going to be talking like this. Hey, everyone. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon.
I like how you put the in front of it. Good morning.
I think I was actually channeling South Park a little bit there.
Oh, good morning. I was like, what was that all about?
And you'd lose that wonderful laugh of yours, man. It wouldn't sound like that anymore. You'd just be ha, 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 ha. Do me a favor, buddy.
Huh.
Don't lose those golden tones. Take care of your trachea.
I will take care of my trachea and my larynx. I've heard people say larynx like nurses. And I'm like, oh, I don't trust you.
That's when you go, you stupid bastard. It's larynx. You don't really need to call me a stupid bastard, sir.
I'm sorry. You probably have a mother and a father.
But anyway, continue my sponge bath.
Yes. Or do you want to call it a smudged bath? Larynx.
She goes home. I had the worst fucking patient today. This has been another episode of Hospital Humor, ladies and gentlemen. We'll continue.
Yes. Don't say larynx, people.
Don't do it. I'll make fun of you, straight up. You'll say larynx, and then I'll go, or larynx. Super passive aggressive.
Either one.
You know, I say this. Most people do. Yeah. But you can say that if you want to. Yeah. I bet you that same person says, listen, I specifically asked you a question.
Oh, yeah. Or probably.
I'm probably being too Pacific here.
About your larynx.
Oh, Lord have mercy. So speaking of larynx and larynx, we were talking about how Cass was strangling Tulip. She puts 2 bullets in him and he falls back. And Cass actually manages to get a hold of the gun and he points it at Tulip, right? And Cass is like, still think I'm phony? And Tulip's like, yeah, I do actually. And ladies and gentlemen, this proves exactly how fucked up these 2 individuals are because then they just smile at each other. So the whole thing was in a way like a facade. It was like 2 best friends fighting, really is what it was. Viciously, but that's exactly what it was. The big dude's still trying to break down the door. And Tulip says so much in just one word. She looks up and she goes, Cass, and this means so much. From behind the clothing, Humperdoo is muttering to Cass, and Cass says, so much for a second chance. And he quickly puts a bullet into Humperdoo, who's right in the middle of saying, to the moon, bang. He falls forward.
What do you think of this scene? What do you think, what drove Cassidy to do that? What do you think was in Cassidy's mind? Do you think he just, when seeing Tulip again, made him realize that this is more important? What do you think happened?
I think he saw the big picture, like he knew that it's the freaking apocalypse. Yes, I have love for this person who's lived with me for the last 3 months and whatever, and he's adorable with his crazy eyes, but there's a bigger thing going on here. I've been with these 2 other people trying to accomplish this mission against God for the whole time. I got to do what's right. And in a weird way, I kind of felt like even Humperdoo knew something had to go down, because now this is all on the subtitles, of course, or the captions rather, but he actually goes, go on, G-A-W-A-A-N, go on. So it makes me kind of wonder, like he was like, go on, shoot me. I really feel that way, but I could be wrong. But I got to tell you something, dude. I'm going to say it right now. I absolutely loved season 4 Humperdoo. Humperdoo as a whole in this series was okay. He was a little hit or miss, but Humperdoo on season 4 just killed it. Tyson Ritter did a fantastic job, and I'm going to miss a little Hump, man. I liked him.
You know what's funny? When he shot him and he came coming out of I thought he had revived. I was like, oh, he does have magical powers. I thought he was going to stand up again like, hey,
everybody to the moon.
But I love the speech that Cass gives for him.
So Humperdoo hits the floor, the door flies open, and Jesse enters. Behind him, we see that big guard, he fell to the floor. He's dead now. Jesse killed him. And in the audience, God raises his head with this troubled look on his face. Almost like a tremor in the force, if you know what I'm saying. He knows that Humperdoo's dead. He made him. He knows. We go back to the dressing room, and poor Cass is just crushed about killing Humperdoo.
He was the best person I ever met. No bullshit. No agendas. And he liked everyone, even assholes. It's the way I'd feel when I was with him, It just felt like it changed you. He was really special.
From there, the camera pans out into the hallway, Steve, and we see that couple that was pestering God, as well as various performers, and everyone that's out there can see what's going on. They're realizing that the Messiah is dead. So Jesse shuts the door to allow for a little privacy, and, he wants Cass to mourn, of course.
I love that Jesse gave it, but like, you know what, dude, this is my friend, and he's wanting to say goodbye to his buddy.
Yeah, give him a little privacy, will you?
Yeah.
He's the guy that goes, can we give him some air? You know that guy?
Yes.
You walk up to someone that got hit by a car. Can we just give him some air, please, sir? Yeah.
And also, you know what I really liked? I liked the fact that when Cassidy's talking to Humperdoo, he's really talking to everyone around him. He's like, you had no ulterior motives.
Yeah.
You did not want anything. You were just a good person, meaning people behind me are not. They do have ulterior motives. They do have all these things. You were the one person in my life that didn't.
Poor Hump. You're good either way, right? You weren't really a fan.
Yeah, I wasn't a Hump fan.
I don't know what it is, man. Just something about season 4. I really bonded with Hump, but we can do. He dead now.
Yeah. Yes, he is.
He gone. That's one of the episodes.
Hey, is Tyson Ritter related to the Ritters?
As in John Ritter?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Just because someone's named Ritter, they all have to be related, Steve?
It's such an odd last name, and he's famous. So that's very coincidental.
It's possible that he could be, but I don't think he is. I think you should look it up while I'm doing this here, because I would like to know now.
Okay.
So while Steve's looking up the origin of Tyson Ritter, I'm going to go ahead
and
continue.
He is. John Ritter's
Shut up.
son.
Is he really?
Yeah.
He's not John Ritter's son.
Sure is.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
You're lying.
Yes, I am. Go on.
I say, stop it. I was like, really? I'll be goddamned. Push the brim of my hat up. Well, I'll be.
Well, I'll be doggone it. I'll be.
Well, I'll be a monkey's uncle. There we go. And that's why we do a show together, everybody.
That is why. We should just walk out on that. See you Saturday.
Jinx, buy me a Coke.
That is hilarious.
Hey, Steve, let's get serious for a second, man. There's some serious shit going on.
That's a handsome dude.
Who, Tyson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, he's Jesus. Jesus was handsome.
Yeah, but no. Like, on these pictures, I'm like, oh, that's what he normally looks like.
Yeah. I don't want to be standing next to Tyson Ritter.
I'm more of a, I don't think I want to be standing next to, like, Shamar Moore. Tyson, I'm fine.
Yeah, but if I'm standing next to Tyson, it's going to be like, this is what your plastic toy looks like before it's left in the sun.
Oh, will you stop it?
And then
Dan?
there's me, it's like, this is what it looks like after.
That's not true. Jeez Louise.
It is, all right? It is. Fuck everyone. I'm done. Bye. Hey, let's get back to Jesus.
Yeah, you're right. He's not. Okay.
I didn't think he was.
Yeah,
but
you're right.
I'm glad that you did this, and we had a little fun experience, so it's great. It was worth it. Speaking of Tyson, Jesus and Hitler, they're still fighting, and Jesus has his hands wrapped around Hitler's neck. There's a lot of strangling going on this episode. And Hitler, though, he's still struggling to get words out, so he's like, Jew!
Yeah, so funny.
And Jesus says, you're goddamn right. And he strangles Hitler to death right there. Finally. No offense, Noah Taylor, but god damn it, Hitler was played out.
Like, here's the thing. I was done, but then when they started fighting, I thought it was going to go somewhere. So I was like, oh, this is going to be fun. Maybe it's moving to a different place, and then it kind of goes nowhere. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Then what was the point of this? I think the people were just like, we might as well have fun. If we're going to have them here, let's just have fun.
We flew them out to Australia. They've got to do something.
Let's just have fun. So, yeah, I get that.
I'm really just giving him a hard time. But anyway, at that particular moment, God walks in right after he kills Hitler, and he says, Jesus, it's time, son. Finally. And I'm thinking that finally means that Hitler's dead. That's just me.
I thought it was just like, oh, he's the backup.
No, I was just kidding.
Okay.
Jesus asks, time for what? And God tells him, to be the Messiah. And Jesus stands up, and it seems like he's going to go for it, right? But we don't know just yet, because the audience starts chanting, Messiah, Messiah. It quickly turns from that into boos, because Jesse walks out stage and he addresses the crowd. I've got some bad news for you people. So listen up. And then we cut back to Jesus and God, the latter being very surprised by Jesus' decision. He's like, you're saying no? And Jesus tells him, I used to want it, to be savior for everyone, but I'm just a person. I'm no better or worse than anyone. And this really pisses God off. And he tells Jesus that he doesn't really need him anyway. Like the whole Messiah thing is just showbiz, as he calls it. And he could just blow the whole world up at any time for any reason. And Jesus counters, or you could be a merciful, patient, tolerant, and loving God. And this just is not the word he wants to hear. He's like, loving! And he just walks out. Jesus is still talking. He walks out of the room and slams the door right in the middle of Jesus trying to sell that whole good guy God thing to him, you know?
Yep.
God makes his way over to the elevator, and he hears, this is a funny scene. He makes his way over to the elevator, and he hears footsteps behind him. And he turns, and he finds Hairstar trying to sneak out, doing that tiptoe sneak out thing with his suitcase in his hand. And they lock eyes for a second, and Hairstar, more importantly, Pip Torrance, gives the most ridiculous smile that I think I've ever seen.
Oh, it's so funny. Oh.
Like, you know, when people say I laughed out loud, I laughed out loud.
It was hilarious.
It was the best cheese ever.
It was, because the thing is, most of us know how to do that uncomfortable smile because we have to do it every day in life. He doesn't ever have to be uncomfortable around anyone. So he's not used to doing that.
Right. It's very sheepish.
God is the only person to be sheepish around for him. So he's like,
it was so good.
That was funny.
God stares at him for a second. He doesn't say anything. Just one word. He goes, run. And Star's out. Doesn't hesitate to follow those orders whatsoever. Once he's gone, God gets in the elevator and he makes his way out to that motorcycle of his. And it's parked outside conveniently. And he hits the road, man. He hits the road again. Because we're kind of winding down the first half of the show now. So I'll get to it in just a second. But things are really starting to wind down right here. Back inside Masada, Jesse continues to break the bad news to the crowd. And he tells them, the world is not coming to an end. So for all of you watching this unhappy horseshit talent show, turn your TVs off. And it's the word, Steve, so of course everyone does what they're told, including the two Grail soldiers at the missile launch console. They take their hands away from the keys, and the female soldier's like, well, that's disappointing. And that's pretty much it for that whole arc, for the most part. We'll come back for a little bit more, but that's kind of it. That's that. I mean, that's the end of the apocalypse.
Oddly enough, it
really is. I mean, it's weird how they handled it, but I think in the end it all came out pretty good. But for just a second, we're going to go back to Eugene's hospital room. And he's approached by this surgeon who tells him that he was at home thinking about everything Eugene's endured and how it must have been so hard on him. And before I go any further, I'm going to say that I think this is as close as we're going to get to actual Arseface. And I'll explain why in just a second. So Eugene agrees with that comment that life's been really hard on him. And the surgeon tells him that he can't do everything for him. But what he can do is turn off his heart monitor, unlock the safety on the morphine drip, hand him that little bulb. And when he leaves the room, Eugene can just keep on pressing that button again and again until he's with the angels. And Eugene, this is the part I'm talking about. Eugene tells him, life's been hard. 18 years being laughed at, teased, puked on. But the worst part is assholes like you feeling sorry for me because I'm fine. I'm better than fine. I'm Eugene Edward Root. So screw your angels and get the hell out. And as he's saying so, drool's just like dripping down his mouth, man. And this was like a
that is
Arseface moment.
Yes,
exactly. Sure. The drool coming out of Eugene's mouth is consistent throughout the entire comic. It's pretty much his calling card, if you will. It's in every panel he's in. But this was really, really good shit. I think he did a great job with that.
Fantastic job.
If they can't give him that full story, I'll take this. I was happy with it. Kind of reminded me of, I can't remember it was a one-off. I believe it was a one-off. And it was like the story of Arseface and his rock and roll adventure. And it was like Arseface World or something like that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Can you picture that comic cover? It was that Glenn Fabry cover. And he's like, it's his mouth drooling all over the world. Really awesome. So we're back with Jesse again. He still has the attention of the Grail audience. And he gives them even more bad news.
God's gone. Again. He's on the run again, and I say, good, go run. But I've been searching for him a long time now. So long, I can't remember none. What do I have to show for it? What good has it done me? Other than make me see the worst of myself? Miss the best in others that I care about. So I'm going to stop looking. And that's where you fascist assholes come in, because I'm not done with God. Make no mistake, no matter where he runs, no matter how long it takes, I want him found. So, go find him.
What did you think of this arc, man? Did you like it that he was able to command that entire Grail army and tell him to go find him?
I thought the visual was cool. I thought the marching was really cool. You have to just suspend your disbelief because a marching group of people finding God is just not going to happen, because he could just be like, I'll just make myself invisible to you and you'll walk right by. But I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do that today. It's perfect.
I'm going to guess that you haven't seen Pink Floyd's The Wall.
No.
Okay. Not a problem. But there is a scene in the movie that has to do with when they're playing Another Brick in the Wall, which I guarantee you've heard this song. And the kids are like marching. It's about this school, and it's too much to explain. But there's this one particular scene where these kids are marching, and they're actually marching into this meat grinder. And for some reason, I got that feeling from that kind of vibe. That was the whole marching kind of zombie-like thing. But yeah, I liked it. I thought it was pretty cool. From there, we go to commercial, and when we come back, Eugene is now standing on the corner, and he's got his duct tape guitar, and he throws some of his own change in the case. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is a pro tip I'm going to go ahead and give you right here. If you're on the street and you're street performing, throw some change in there. It gets the momentum going. It gives them the idea like, oh, look, he's that good, where people have walked by and given him some of their own change. It's a nice little trick, and I recommend it. What I don't recommend is only learning the first 1.5 lines of the song Closing Time, because that's all he does the entire time.
Yeah.
Closing time, over and over again.
Yeah.
People are passing him and they're paying him no mind whatsoever, with good reason, because that song really sucks when he's singing it. And he sort of stops for a second and he reconsiders his material. And he makes a very good choice right here. He makes the better choice of playing Stars and Stripes by the Circle Jerks. And he goes into this punk rock acoustic rendition of that song. And this time he starts getting some attention. People are starting to look, and they're watching him shred on some old punk rock. And now Eugene knows what he's got to do.
This is such a throw to us.
For sure.
Only we know what happens.
Yes. I was very grateful for it.
So one, because it's just like, no, we're not. There's some things only comic readers are going to know. That's life. Yeah. I love it.
Folks, you need to read the comic. In the comic, if you haven't heard us say this 9 million times, Eugene rocks the nation. He's a rock star, and it's great. He has a completely different story than what Ian Coletti was given, and it's a great story.
Prime.
Amazon Prime. In fact, thanks to Melissa, we were notified recently that you can actually get, was it Kindle? Is that right?
Yeah, and also on the Kindle app on your iPhone, yeah.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, but you can get, because I don't want to steer these people into the wrong direction, but you can go from Amazon, utilizing your Kindle app, you can download the first book for free. Is that correct?
I don't know. I know it's, I don't know how many you can download for free, but there are free issues on Amazon Prime.
I know for sure the first, if not the first book, the first issue is free. But it's a great starting point. If you guys are interested in maybe reading the comic, which I so suggest you do. It is, like I've said before, and I'll say it again, one last time, ladies and gentlemen, it is one of the greatest things ever put on paper, in my opinion. And you really need to read this. So go to Amazon, get your little Kindle app, get it for free, and then you can come on over to the Heroes of Noise podcast community group, because we're going to be doing a book club next month. Actually, this month now. Happy October. In a few days, we're going to start this book club where we're going to be going, I don't know if it's going to be chapter by chapter or issue by issue, but we're going to read it, discuss. It'll be a good time.
I really wish they would do that as a podcast. Ladies on Preacher. Oh, that would be good.
Maybe they can utilize our feed.
Yeah, I would want the ladies on Preacher. I'd want it from a female's perspective. What do they think about this now that it's been a while, and I know there's I would love to hear
I know a couple people I'd like to do that with.
I mean, I would love for them to be like, we're going to read this and we're going to do 10 pages a week or a book, however many you need, and just agree on it between you two and tell the listeners what they're going to read, and they can be like, every week we're going to review this many until we get to the end of and I want to know overall, what do they think? Does it change their view of this book? Because there are some things in that book that aren't going to hold up to the light of day now.
It is very dated to the 90s.
So, I mean, when you have Eddie Murphy coming out and be like, hey, that crap was ridiculous.
Right? In the day and age where Eddie Murphy apologizes for Delirious. Yeah,
he's like, dude, he looks back and is like, jeez, Louise, what was I saying?
Right. But don't let us sway you. This is a fantastic book.
I
love that idea, Steve. I think you need to stop putting good ideas into my head, because now I want to, message people and go, hey, Steve just mentioned, you know what? You should do this, Steve. I think you should mention certain people.
Yeah, I might end up messaging Becca and Melissa.
That's who I was thinking. All right.
Yeah.
Great minds.
Yeah. And then maybe they can have, and just what I would do is I'd have them complete the whole thing, and then we'll time release it. Instead of them having to do every week, I'm like, just release them when you can, and we'll just put them on a time release for season 1. As soon as you're done, we can have them all backed up and just set it as a time release thing, and just have now season 1 is done.
Melissa's listening to this right now going, oh, really? Is that what you're going to do, Steve? Is that what you're going to have
It's an idea is what I'm saying.
I know,
I'm saying it's an idea.
I'm totally kidding with you. Hey, let's go back to Masada for a second, because it's real different there now. No. This is a good thing, because this is actually the last time we're going to be at Masada.
Thank the Lord.
We're in the theater. It's super quiet. And our trio have saved the freaking world, Steve. They're all standing on stage, and I really like this scene, actually.
Dan!
What?
This is the last time they're together.
That's what I was about to say, yeah.
Oh, no!
Yeah. They're looking out into this empty theater, and this is, in fact, the last time that we're going to see Dominic Cooper, Ruth Negga, and Joseph Gilgan all together on the screen. At least for this series. And it was an emotional moment, man. I was like, wow, because it made me wonder what they were thinking. Because the way that the scene is shot, it's just the three of them. We're going to hear what happens, of course, but Tulip's all, till the end of the world. And I could just imagine them, and that's a wrap. And all of them just giving each other a hug. You know what I mean? Like they've gone through this together. Yeah.
I don't know if Dominic and Ruth gave each other a hug. But.
See, yeah, Dominic and Ruth, they just kind of like,
pat each other on the back.
Yeah, good job. So, Joe! Yeah, and then Joe, she just goes and rubs up on Joe. He's like, I'm sorry, Dominic, but this feels great. Causing trouble on the show. Anyways, let's hear this scene.
So quiet.
Christ. The three of us saved the world. In like in an actual sense.
Not many people can say that, huh?
Churchill. Lincoln. Who else? Frodo Baggins.
It's fictional. Is a fictional character.
If you say so.
The little guy with the furry feet lives with a wizard, and it's not real.
All right. Firstly, the wizard was a guest man. He never actually lived with him. And B.
To the end of the world!
All right. Now what?
The answer to now what that Tulip asks comes in the form of Tulip and Jesse, and they're running down the road together, right? And they're chasing after a horse. And this made me get a little bit excited at first because I'm thinking, oh, are they going to do the thing at the end? Are they going to actually work the horse in? It wasn't the case at all. Didn't happen. But we do find out that we're in Texas, right? Texas flashes across the screen. And then we get yet another title card that tells us that not only are we in Texas, we're in Texas 2 years later, Steve. We've had a time jump. A car's chasing after them. They're hopping fences. They're running through yards. And I saw something. I'm like, oh, what is that? And I went back to it and I paused. And you know what they had in the yard? It was a Trump 2020 campaign sign in the yard. I thought that was kind of funny. Like, I like, no. That's horrific. But what I'm saying is I like that the showrunners throw in those little things. Like, you know, they don't say anything. They just put it in there and they want you to decide what they're meaning by that.
It means, good Lord, the apocalypse was averted, ...
Or was it? It turns out that they're running from the Rodriguez brothers, Steve. Remember the Rodriguez brothers? They mentioned them several times throughout the series. We've never seen them, of course, but they do bring them up. But the reason that they're chasing them this time is because Tulip stole a distributor to a 1936 Cord 810. They don't make those anymore, Steve.
Did not know that.
Do you know what a Cord 810 is?
I'm going to go ahead and say no.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, Steve. It's a luxury automobile produced by the Cord Automobile Division of the Auburn Automobile Company in 1936 and 1937. It was the first American design with independent front suspension, and it had front-wheel drive. Both models of these cars, Steve, were also the first to offer hidden headlights. Now you know.
Wow, that's crazy that you knew that off the top of your dome.
Isn't it crazy? I mean, that's just full of this information.
That's
I had a feeling you wouldn't know, so I thought I would research things for you. Because I didn't know. Now I do.
You know what I loved about this scene?
What's that?
The fact that they were like, Jesse was like, I could just make them stop and shoot themselves. and Tulip's like, what fun would that be? And now, but when they get back, I get why she needs this fun. Because we've all been there before, where it's just like, I need a night out. I need to do something else.
Yeah, they're hanging out in that alleyway, and the Rodriguez brothers start calling out to them. They're like, we're not going to hurt you this time, guys. We're going to kill you. Because that's how they sound. And then they said Texas Ranger, and I can say this stuff because my last name's Ramirez. Let's move along. But Tulip speaks Spanish back to him and tells them to blow her, which I thought was pretty funny. And that's the part you're talking about where Jesse's like, I could make them blow each other. I don't think that would work on cable.
No.
Not this version anyway. Not AMC. No blowing each other, ladies and gentlemen. You can't do it. You can say fuck, though, and apparently you can say it twice. I thought it was once. Yeah. So Tulip looks around the corner. She counts 8 of these guys, right? And they've got shotguns and pistols, and apparently there's a guy named Juan and his nephew are there, and they have Kalashnikovs. Do you know what those are, Steve?
I do. It's a gun that no person should be owning. And because people shouldn't be owning guns. But go on, Dan.
Well, it's an automatic rifle that's based on the original design of Mikhail Kalashnikov, by the way.
Oh, I didn't know it was named after someone, but I know what it is.
Not to be mistaken with Mikhail Baryshnikov. 2 different things. One's a dancer, the other one's a gun maker.
And it's named after the dancer, I'm assuming.
No, gun maker, Steve. No.
Oh, okay. Well,
You might remember Baryshnikov as he acted with
White Knights.
Gregory Hines in the movie White Knights, yes. Yeah.
Shine, what was it? Sweet freedom. Different song. Different movie.
That's not the right song. Different movie. What was the... Oh, yeah, it was... Here it is. Say you, say me.
Oh, was that Say You, Say Me?
Say it together.
I didn't know that.
Naturally. Thank you very much.
Gregory Hines was a thing. I remember him in Taps. He was killing in Taps, too.
I saw him perform one time.
Did you?
I went to a dance thing of his. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I didn't know you were a dancer.
Oh, I wasn't. I was watching.
That back kept you out, huh?
Hey, you know what? Why you gotta be bringing up old shit all the time? Can't wait till your back goes out. I don't want you to get hurt, but when it's hurting and I know you're gonna be better, I'm gonna be like, see, told you, whose back hurts now.
Dan's gonna be like, and a 1, 2, oh! I'll be like, damn, we didn't even start yet.
I don't find that humorous in the least.
We didn't start yet.
Kiss my ass, Hudson. I hope you stub your toe today. Roll an ankle. Nothing too serious. Just enough to set you back a little bit. So while Steve's over here blowing himself about his joke, let's talk about Tulip.
Okay, let's do it. Ooh, that's funny.
So I was a little bit disappointed with something that happened in this scene. Nothing major, but I was let down because Tulip concocts this plan, right? Those Tulip plans. And she did so well in the first episode where, I mean, at the time we were like, oh, this is ridiculous. But now we know that's Tulip, right? In the first episode, she made the bazooka out of coffee cans. So this time she tries to MacGyver something and she's like, okay, what do we got? And she has 1 bullet. She has some rolling papers because she likes to smoke that weed. And then she's going to utilize the power lines, and she asks for Jesse's lighter. And Jesse doesn't hand it over right away. So she's all tense, and of course, and she's like, you lost it. And Jesse just laughs about it. And he tells her, I have it. And she's like, then what, huh? And Jesse tells her, I'm just happy. And they share this quick little moment. I thought it was kind of sweet. He throws her the lighter, but we never get to see what this plan was.
Well, you know what's weird? I loved the scene. I didn't need to see it only because what I took from the scene was I have never seen Jesse happy.
Oh, no, I get it. I mean, I know that's what the take-home was, but I still wanted to see the scene.
It would have been nice.
I would like to know what you can do with bullets, rolling paper, a lighter, and power lines.
I would have thought it was a waste of time. I'm like, okay, I get what she did. And also, whatever she did, you would have been like, really?
No,
I was that.
Maybe, but I was really looking forward to it.
That's fair. That's fair.
You know what we do get to see, though? We get to see our old pal Kamal again. Remember Kamal?
Yep.
The former owner of the Holy Bar and Grail that is non-existent because angels and demons can fight and for like 3 months fuck their whole place up. Yep. Messed up. So Kamal is actually living with them now. 2 years later, I don't know if he's living with them, but he's working for them, I should say. And I just imagine him having a little shop in the back like Navin R. Johnson in The Jerk. You know, a little closet he sleeps in.
Oh, yes.
But Tulip's kind of gone semi-legit, not fully legit, and she owns O'Hare's Auto Repair now. I say semi-legit because that distributor she stole actually went to one of her customers. So look at it this way, ladies and gentlemen. If you go to O'Hare's Auto Repair, you get good work, but your replacement parts might be a little suspect. You know what I'm saying? Kamal asked her if there's any... I'm just saying, but that's cool. If you get the work done, that's really all I care about. Kamal asked Jesse and Tulip if they had any problems getting this done, which is kind of funny because they just smile at each other and like, no problems. But let's remember those Rodriguez brothers. Kamal, on the other hand, tells him that, and he says, we had an accident. 3 of them, actually. But she's fine, sleeping. And we know what this means. Tulip and Jesse now have a baby girl. Aw. And they go and check on her. Aw. Come on, everybody together. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Aw. Doesn't that feel good? They go and check on her, and Jesse tells Tulip that Cassidy called, right? So they haven't seen him since that. I assume they all split up that day. I'm not entirely sure. But they haven't seen Cassidy for at least 2 years. Cassidy's calling from a peyote conference in Oaxaca, and apparently he's been gone longer than they expected him to because Tulip does ask, I thought he was coming back. But Jesse tells her, no, he's doing fine. Apparently he's not ready to come back yet. But he did apparently throw up on Woody Harrelson.
That's so funny.
That peyote will make you throw up.
Oh,
I've never had it, but that's what I hear.
But then you talk to the gods also, so.
That's true. So it's kind of like
it's
a bonus.
Trade-off. Yeah.
It's a trade-off. Yeah. I think we should do peyote one day and record ourselves, Steve.
Let's do it, dude.
Say no. Oh, cool. You're very agreeable. Awesome. Let's do it.
We got to go to Brazil, or somewhere in the rainforest.
Unless any of our listeners have a connection, you know what I'm saying?
No, we're gonna go. We're gonna do it right. I don't want some local guru with long hair and a.
You don't want some
shirt.
Dude named Shane giving you
peyote. No,
Thanks.
I want a dude that doesn't exactly know English or what tennis shoes are. I want them doing it for
me. What are these things?
I'll be like, I believe him, yo. I don't know why, but I do.
Are we having fun, ladies and gentlemen? I think we are.
That's all that matters.
That's true. So while they're looking at the baby, they're having that moment that every new parent has had. I should say every good new parent has had, where they're hanging out over the crib, and they're watching the baby sleep. And Jesse says, "Oh, she looks like you." You know, makes her feel all good about herself and stuff like that. That's the good stuff right there, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't experienced it, that's the good stuff. But anyway, Kamal comes in and he tells Jesse that the phone's for him. So Jesse leaves for a little bit. And Tulip stays behind and she starts singing Van Morrison's Sweet Thing to her. Remember that, Sweet Thing. She's singing that to her daughter.
Okay.
When Jesse returns, he's real serious now, and he tells Tulip that the remaining Grail, all those people that he set the word on, have found God. They finally found him, and now he has to go. But he tells her that he wants to do this, and that God's in San Antonio. So I know where we're going with this, and I like it. Even though it's not the same, I liked it.
I love it.
When he actually gets to San Antonio, we see him walking through all these Grail members, right? And they're filthy. They're just standing there. They're all in, their clothes are tattered, and they're all standing at attention because they're still under the spell, if you will. And we also see that they're standing in front of the Alamo, and it's confirmed by the title card, Steve. They get comic points for this one. The camera pans to the right, and we see that God can be very tacky because he's actually parked his tacky-ass RV in front of the Alamo. Like, just, I guess it's just there now, like it's an RV site.
Pretty much waiting for them to show.
Totally, yeah. And he's just sitting in his little lawn chair drinking his coffee like he's in a Folgers ad or something like that. And he's all, welcome. So Jesse goes to sit with God, but before he does, he turns to the Grail members, Steve, and he tells them, go about your lives. Now, even though Jesse set them free, this is still a humongous dick move by him because when you think about it, it's been 2 years. What do they really have to go back to?
Nothing.
Nothing at all. Like if they had families are gone. They probably don't have a home. They maybe lost it. You know, I'm sure the Grail paid pretty well. So anything that they owned before, it's all gone now. Kind of a dick move. He should have never done it in the first place, but that is Jesse Custer.
Yep.
So as these people turn to leave, now that they're no longer under his command, a few of them drop right away from exhaustion. You figured more would, but three of them drop. And one of them is that husband that wouldn't stop talking to God at the Apocalypse Review. It's him. Once they either fall down or go away, God tells Jesse, well, go ahead. And Jesse says, make it day. And God makes it so. Make it night. And it gets dark. God groans, kind of over it. And he's like, well, now that we have that out of the way, beer? Soda pop? Diet Dr. Pepper? And they sit down and they start talking. Jesse tells God that he has so many questions to ask. Apparently God gets this a lot. And the first thing he asks is a very logical question. I mean, I think I would ask this question. He's like, what's up with kids and cancer? And God tells him, well, suffering is a great teacher. It gives a person strength. And Jesse's like, or it kills you. And God tells him, and teaches strength to those left behind. And then Jesse asks him if all the other religions are wrong. And God tells him, no, not at all. And he actually admires many of the things that are in other religions that he doesn't necessarily have in his. And Jesse asks if they're going to go to hell for not believing in God. And God again says, not necessarily. But then they both kind of chuckle. So yeah, they're fully going to hell. God's not having that shit.
Nope.
Then God blows Jesse's mind and tells him that there isn't life on any other planets whatsoever. Maybe some organic gases, perhaps some water deposits, sure. But aliens and bug eyes and laser guns? Nah, son, not even a little bit. Get the fuck out of here with that.
Here's what I've noticed. Jesse is in a different groove right now. He's like not mad. He's not angry. He's just
very lighthearted.
Very light. He's like, oh, that's surprising. Like he doesn't care. Now that he's found him, he's like, eh.
Yeah, he does a thing that I didn't have the audio clip for it, but when he's talking about the aliens, he's like, yeah, there's no life in outer space. And Jesse does something he's never done or sounded like in the entire series. He's like, what? His voice gets real high.
Yeah.
So he's in a completely different
mode.
He's
like, that's surprising.
Well, he's content. He's got his family now. The world's been saved and he's getting answers from God. So he's doing okay.
Yep.
Right about this time, an unnecessary scene happens, though, Steve. One of God's old ladies, as he's calling him, or I'm calling him, I should say, gets out of the RV and tells God she's off to the Piggly Wiggly. And God's like, oh, you want anything from there? No? Okay, no, we're good. And she walks off, and that's pretty much all she does in the entire show. Kind of unnecessary. Didn't bother me, but I'm like, okay, we could have used those 15 seconds for something else. They continue their conversation, and Jesse asks him if his dad is in heaven. Shit starts getting real. And God tells him that he was an amazing person who served God, never smoked or drank, etc. Mm-hmm. He also says that Jesse used to pray so hard that his dad would burn in the fires of hell. And Jesse winces when he hears this, like, oh shit, I did that, didn't I? But God tells him, it's cool. I denied your prayers, and your dad is in heaven. And Jesse's so relieved to hear about this. But then God goes and makes it kind of weird.
Here's what I want you to know, and It might be difficult to understand, but the moment that I let your father die, and each and every single moment of your life that followed, was an expression of my love. I love you, Jesse Custer. Do you believe me? Good. Now, it's your turn to say it back. Say you love me.
Your great design is being loved. Right? That's it. That's the why.
I gave you pain. I gave you joy. Your family, that happiness that you feel, that was my idea.
You know, whenever I imagined this moment, it was just like this. We'd talk, you'd answer my questions. I'd hear about my dad and you'd help me understand.
What will be is what has always been. I will go back to heaven. And all you need to do is say it.
Get it, I get it. I get it. I understand.
Good.
I understand that we would all be better off without a needy little bitch like you around.
So I gotta ask, is Jesse's power even stronger when he's using it on God? Because now he's like levitating people and shit.
Yeah, I think he's just now he's had 2 years of working with this thing.
He's just
mastered it. Yeah, he's mastered it now. And also, it's one of those things where later on, what he does, it's almost like you have a Lamborghini that you're planning on getting rid of anyway, so you floor it all that day before you sell it. You're like, oh, well, I'm just going to have a ball with it today because I'm getting rid of it in a minute.
This is a rental car. I'm going to drive the shit out of this
Exactly, because I know this is the last day because I'm done.
Gotcha. I like that. I'm going to stick with that. It sounds good. Jesse isn't finished telling God what to do, and he tells him, keep driving or doing whatever it is you do, but you got to stay out of heaven and leave us alone.
Oh my God, I love this scene. Jesse is in his bag right now being like, he's saying everything I wanted him to say to him. Everything. Someone who's writing this show went to church.
Oh, yeah, I have no doubt.
They're
really going in there.
They're going in.
There have been things throughout this series that you have informed me on that only people that go to church would know.
No question. No,
so, yeah, I get
there's
that.
someone who was like, they used to go and was like, oh, I was raised in this. Let me tell you what we should
I knew
do.
this would be good for something.
Exactly. This whole thing where you're just like, wait, I'll let you go because this is about to be one of my favorite parts of the show.
So like we heard, Jesse's throwing him around and God's kind of on the ground now and he looks up and he tells Jesse, you dare, only because of your perverse power. And Jesse thinks about it for a second, considers Genesis in his body, and he says, be free. And Genesis flies out of his body. Now, I'm going to talk about something real quick. Just the difference of how Jesse left his body from television show to comic, okay? In the comic, Jesse's shot. I'm not going to say if he dies or not, but Jesse is shot. I'm not saying who shoots him, but Genesis leaves his body at that time. In this one, I guess Jesse has mastered the power now. He doesn't need it anymore. So he's now able to have Genesis leave his body. I don't think they ever really talked about that before. I don't think that was ever on the table, but nonetheless, that's what he can do now. Would you agree, Steve?
Yes, and I love the fact that he was just like, what are you going to use that thing on? He's like, I don't need it. And he let it go. Because he's like, I'm done with it. For you, you are not even strong enough for me to have to, because you have such a tiny little, you have such a small, what do you call it when you have a weakness? There's an easy weakness I have for you. You need our love, and we're not giving it to you anymore.
It's his Achilles heel.
Yep, there it is. You need it, and we're not going to give it to you. The end.
Yeah, God's master plan is completely about being loved.
That's it.
We're almost there, but it's pretty disturbing how he sort of goes against that, like right after this part.
Yes.
I was completely disturbed. I'll get to that in just a second. But anyway, yeah, like you said, God asked him why he would even do something like that, as in getting rid of Genesis. And Jesse drops that second F-bomb of the episode and tells him, because I don't fucking need it. And he punches God. And this is where God's eyes start to glow. He looks really intimidating, actually.
Oh, he looks very scary.
Yeah, he does look scary.
And Jesse isn't even kind of worried.
No, not even tripping whatsoever. And God's showboating, too. He's like, I will rip you apart. I will gorge on your innards and pick my teeth with your bones. And Jesse tells him, still ain't gonna make you love me. And he's like, oh, you're right, huh? Okay, never mind.
So perfect. Still not gonna make me love you.
Yep. It's like a bad relationship.
Yes.
When you think about it. It's like domestic abuse or something like that. I'm gonna beat the shit out of you and make you love me. No, you're just going to beat the shit out of me, basically.
Have
and
fun
I won't
then.
love you.
Yeah, and you can do that if you want.
Yeah.
Now, there is a cool thing that they do at the end of this, but I'll wait.
Okay. God tells Jesse, I am a loving God, Jesse. I don't know about that. He's all, but my patience with you and all humanity is nearing its end, and you will return my affection or your replacement awaits. And Jesse smiles and tells God, you're tough, but humans are pretty good for all their imperfections, and you should be proud of yourself. But if you got something better cooking up, then go for it. But in the meantime, I'm going to go see a movie. And he turns and he walks away, and that's the last time we see those two together.
Now, when he walks away, he looks like, uh-oh, is he going to do something?
Yeah, is he going to hit me in the back?
Yeah, for real quick, he looks like to the side, but God just stays there. I'm like, okay, he's a normal human wondering, wait a minute, this guy is kind of unhinged.
Yeah, did I just go too far?
Exactly. And then he goes off camera. I was like, oh, whoever told him to do that is brilliant, being like, yeah, we have to make sure they'll be like, okay, wait a minute now. Is he going to do something? And he doesn't. And he walks.
I totally know what you're talking about. I didn't put it in the notes, but I'm glad you brought that up because that's totally intentional. You're right.
Oh, for sure. Because anybody would have been like,
maybe it was like an at, like, you know, he's improv or something like that. But whoever decided for him to do that was great.
Perfect, dude. Perfect. And this next part is so important because he's like, love me, love me, love me. Fine. We all love you, love you, love you. Well, now I got to punish you.
This is where I got kind of uncomfortable. I don't know why. But it made me kind of uneasy, and I don't know why, but I'm going to go ahead and talk this scene out. God is pissed because Jesse just punked him, and he goes into his RV, and all of his new creations start talking to him in whatever language they speak, and they're saying, I love you, and Daddy, I love you, right? It's kind of twisted. And God's like, not now, and they keep doing it. You know, Daddy, Daddy, I love you, I love you. And God starts freaking out about it, right? Because he's been defeated, and he starts telling them, shut up, shut up. But they keep doing it and talking to him. And God reaches in, you don't see it happen, but God reaches into one of the cages and he starts strangling one of them. And it's like, Daddy, I love you, while he's doing it. It was pretty twisted, man. But God created this species that does exactly what he wanted them to do all along, but he kills them off. Now, maybe this is where you're talking about the biblical part of it, because, you know, he kills them all in his RV because another species he created didn't appreciate him that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He was projecting, basically. He was just beating up a perfectly fine, well, maybe not perfectly fine, but beating up the species that does exactly what he wants them to do because the other one wouldn't. He was throwing a temper tantrum, essentially.
That's exactly what he was doing. He was just like, you're just doing, because it's like, okay, love me, love me. Okay, I love you, love you. Yeah, but you're not doing it for the right reason.
Yeah, it's not on my terms.
Yes, and it's just like, oh, what a good scene this was, dude.
Yeah, but it bothered me, though. No joke, it bothered me. I don't know why.
Why did it bother you?
I don't know, because they're not even real creatures. I think it was just because God was just murdering his children in cold blood because of his rage, essentially. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know why it bothered me, but it kind of did. Not like it bothered me and now I don't like the show kind of thing. But it was just like, oh, that made me feel weird.
Totally.
But anyway, if anyone's wondering what happened to Jesus, because we sort of forgot about him for a little bit, we find him working in this Home Depot or like Lowe's, if you're local. I don't know what you guys have out in Australia or on the other side of the world, but, you know, a hardware store, big gigantic hardware store, and that's where Jesus is working. And currently he's dealing with a shitty customer who is complaining about the paint he bought and rudely demanding his money back. And we do get one more Eugene nod in here because this rude guy's daughter is wearing a Eugene tour shirt, and on the back of it says sold out with all these different dates on it. So that's good because Eugene did get to be a rock star. We don't get to see it, but it's there. And I'll take it. Because at this point, they're just throwing so much out at us that I totally understand that they can only do so much. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You're not giving us another season or another episode. You've got to wrap it up right now. But Jesus calms this guy down and suggests that he goes home and, try the paint that he purchased. And if he isn't satisfied, guess what? There's a 90-day guarantee. And the man chills out and he apologizes to him and everything. And Jesus is like cool about it. He's like, oh yeah, sure, no problem. Have a good day. And when the guy walks off, Jesus mutters, dick, to himself. So
now
Jesus
he's just human like us.
Exactly. Yes, he's just one of us now. He's just a human. Exactly. He looks up and he's like, who's next? And that's it for Tyson Ritter. They're all going out now. See, like it's starting to get very real.
That's it.
Now, this part I think we're going to disagree with, man, because I was a little bothered by it. Not like in a, like I'm disturbed. I just don't like how it went down. And what I'm talking about is the end of Hairstar's story. So we're on this golf course and Goldilocks Hairstar is getting ready to do his golf thing. I don't play golf, so, he hits the ball and he says something about, I want to marry this 9-iron. And he's going about his business, and then that chief from Pensacola, Chief Whitman, shows up. He rolls up in a golf cart with his deputy, and they have an arrest warrant for him. And Star takes off running, and in the background you hear the, glory, glory, what a hell of a way to die. And he's running from him. And then Whitman tackles him really quickly, but he jumps off of him just as quick because he notices that Star's doing that thing he did in school. He's masturbating, basically, as a distraction trick. The old masturbation trick, basically, Steve.
Oh, but he put out one of the old ones.
Yeah, that old chestnut. You know what I did there? Anyway.
I see what you did, yeah. Nicely done.
So Star does this just long enough to distract the chief, right? Long enough, I should say, to steal his gun away from him. And he actually kills both him and the deputy on the spot. And then he just goes back to golfing again. And that's like literally it for a story. You see him getting ready to do this tricky shot. He does the shot. I don't know who these people are that are with him, by the way, because they're not tripping whatsoever that Star just murdered 2 people. So I don't know if these are like former Grail associates or something, or just a sick bunch of individuals that they've all found each other, because that happens from time to time. But these people aren't tripping whatsoever. And somebody buried them in the sand pit. Who was that? Was it him? When did this happen? Kind of weird.
I mean, apparently here's the thing. I think those guys that are with them are in on it because they don't care.
I guess so. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
so are they like former Grail people, or because now they're all freed up again?
Totally former Grail people, for sure. And they're still following them, which means, it's about to start out. I mean, now who knows what he's going to build?
I don't know, man. I don't like the way this happened. I think that Star didn't get good closure. We just know that he continues on. It's so drastically different from the book that I'm a little disappointed in it. I liked the fact that it was a running gag that Star was losing limbs. And that was like the whole thing. And then, of course, how he truly meets his fate. I mentioned it last episode. Tulip kills him. I liked all of that. I'm not really upset that he didn't die or whatever, but I just was like, this was kind of like the weakest close out of all of them. I was disappointed. I really liked Pip Torrance's Hairstar, and I don't know. I wasn't feeling it. But you feel differently.
I love it, dude, because this is exactly how he would roll. No random old school or no random freaking cop is going to come in and take care of Star. Heck no. He's been trained for this. He's like, yeah, these are cakewalk. Give me the Navy SEALs. Give me Force Recon. You're not going to get me with some run-of-the-mill agent. Get something better than this. I get it. No question.
I was just really surprised how they handled it because, Star has been this bad individual the entire time. Yes, he goes through hell, and yes, he even gets restored. He's restored back to his beauty, as he puts it. But being that God was kind of a bad guy in all of this too, it was really shady. I'm not into it, but that's okay. It was still
not
good.
Everything is wrapped in a nice bow. Some bad guys get away with it.
You're right. It's happening right now.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll leave my politics at home. So this is the part, Steve, I think I already know the answer to this, but you haven't said the words. This is the part where we find out if Steve Hudson thinks that Preacher stuck the landing, all right?
Mm-hmm.
God has returned back to heaven, and he finds the heavenly host, as he calls it, have all been slaughtered. But he knows exactly why this happened, of course, and he knows who's there waiting for him, because he just speaks out. He's like, you slaughtered the heavenly host? Saying the killers comes out of nowhere, and he's like, they got in my way. And he says that in the comic too, so I gave him points. He says, but he didn't say this part. He goes, so I tore them apart like a wet sheet. God asks Saint the killers that, isn't he supposed to be in hell? And Saint just tells him, deathbed confession. He actually confessed to an actual preacher being Jesse. So again, I don't know where the whole idea came from, but that's what it is. It's a motherfucking loophole.
Yep.
We then get examples of all the stuff that he's done in this confession because he's telling Jesse. Some of the things that he committed over the years included him leading his men to slaughter and then leading them to be slaughtered. And then another one was killing a man by splitting him open with a dull blade and then having his way with his wife while his kids watched just for looking at him. And the worst part of it all is he loved every single thing that he did while it was happening. That really puts a whole nother spin on him, you know?
Yep.
Which is fine because, I mean, he is like supposed to be one of the most evil people ever. So I guess it all works out. Makes perfect sense why he's in heaven. God, that's the other thing too. How's that for Catholicism or Christianity? You can do all that stuff and go, sorry, and then it's all good. You go right
exactly. My bad.
Pretty amazing system. So God figures out very quickly that Jesse was responsible for the confessions, and the Saint of Killers tells him that he figured God would come back to heaven one day, and that he and the Saint had some unfinished business. And then God starts to get furious, right? He's like, you dare! It is given unto none to judge me. Stand aside. And his fingers start zapping with lightning. But the Saint doesn't do shit. He doesn't move at all. So God takes a different approach, and he asks the Saint, or William as he's now calling him, to understand that before everything was created, he was infinitely alone. So out of nothing, he created love, which was his greatest gift. And then he implores the Saint of Killers to let him take his seat on the throne. Let him, stand aside, let me take my seat on the throne, so that I can give you that love by returning your family to you. And God goes on to tell the Saint that he loved his wife and his daughter so. And the Saint starts to fight back tears. And God tells him, I know. But what was taken shall now be returned. And he tells the Saint, stand aside so I can give it to you. An eternity of love. All the while, though, those fingers are going zapping with that electricity. Which to me is basically like having like your gun cocked and loaded, right? That's what he was doing. He was ready just in case. At least he thought he was. And the Saint looks at him and asks, what if I choose hate? And he reaches for his pistol, and they basically have this really quick shootout in the throne room. You hear the sound of his gun, and you hear the lightning and the thunder crack, and then it's dark. You hear God scream for a second, it goes dark, and the next thing we see, which I thought was an amazing shot, is God lying dead with a hole in his head, still smoking from the Saint of Killers bullet. And the life leaves his eyes, and they turn gray. It was fucking great.
Here's what I love. God didn't get a shot off.
Nothing.
He didn't.
I don't think it would have mattered.
It didn't zap him. Nothing. He was too fast.
Fastest gun in the West.
I mean, he reholstered his gun. Oh, snap!
It's so good, man. What did you think of God's last image, though, of him like lying there with a hole in his head?
It was perfect.
Yeah, it was great. It was really great. Sounds sick to say it like this out of context, but hey, who cares? So the Saint turns. This is the part that got Steve excited, ladies and gentlemen. I have a feeling. The Saint turns and he slowly walks to the throne. And you hear those spurs. He takes his seat on the throne and he gives us that iconic image that we've been waiting this entire time to see, Steve. He's on the throne. It looks so amazing. His daughter's doll drops to his feet and just rests right there. And that's it for the Saint, man. Closing it out. Saint is running shit in heaven now.
They could have ended it right here and I'd be happy.
Yeah, it would have been good. Perfect. But I liked this part. And this is all stuff that is now fabricated, but I really, really like this. And what I'm talking about is, we're closing it out now, ladies and gentlemen. I'm getting sad. We go back to Jesse and Tulip and their daughter, and they're at a drive-in, and they're watching what else but a John Wayne movie. It's actually the Alamo that they're watching. So we get yet another nod to the Duke. And then we get this wider shot, right? It's of the entire drive-in. And I guess Genesis is homesick because it's been a while now, but Genesis flies overhead. And that's the last shot we get. They smile at each other. They smile at the kid. And this is the last shot that we get of Ruth Negga and Dominic Cooper on screen together. Perhaps ever? Maybe?
Life is funny. Who knows?
Life is funny that way. You never know. As long as they don't do Warcraft again, I'm still up for it.
You know?
One more flash to the future, Steve. 40 years later, to be precise. And we actually see that flash across the screen. And we find ourselves looking at Jesse and Tulip's gravestones. Tulip passed away in 2064 at the age of 81, and Jesse died the following year at the age of 86. Of a broken heart, maybe? Who knows? Pretty close, though.
Yes.
Had to have been. And now we have Tulip's daughter, who's 40 years old, and she's standing over their graves, and Cassidy, of all people, is standing next to her. What did you think of Ruth Negga playing her daughter?
I loved it. I loved that it was Cassidy and kind of Ruth back on screen together again.
See, that's the other thing. Yes, you get that one more time.
Yep.
And we needed that. Cassidy tells her, so I hear you're a banker now. Is that right? And she tells him that she runs this asset management fund, and she explains what they do. She also tells him she doesn't know why, but she's been praying a lot lately. And Cass tells her that he gets it, and he's sure her daddy would as well, and which makes her smile, of course. She says, he said you used to drink gasoline and you killed 20 angels with a chainsaw. Is that true? And Cass is like, no, it's not bloody true. He's exaggerating. It was engine coolant. And then they both have a little chuckle. She tells him that Jesse told her that he was the toughest guy that he's ever met. And Cass is pretty surprised about that and tells her that means a lot coming from him.
Yes, because remember, the last time that they interacted, just a while before that, he was like, I'm sorry for being so weak. And Preacher was like, you're the strongest person I know.
He kept to the story.
Sure did.
You got to give him that. There was no take-backsies involved or anything like that. So that's good. Good for you, Jesse. Man of his word. No pun intended. So we never know the name of her. I'm assuming... I was looking on the credits, and I noticed that there is no credit for another character from Ruth Negga. So it makes me wonder if this girl is named Tulip as well. We never get the name, so I'm assuming that's the case. But anyway, be that as it may, she tells him that her mom thought so too, that he was one of the strongest people ever. And she always talked about Cass. She talked about him all the time. But she always wondered why Cass never came back to see them. And Cass tells her that he wanted to, but he always runs out of time.
Yeah, because time is different for Cassidy.
Right. Yeah, it probably doesn't seem like it's that long, and the next thing you know, 60 years have passed. Yeah, It's pretty crazy. Or 40 years have passed, rather. But she tells him that she gets it, and also that Tulip loved him very much.
Oh,
and
this
you see
was the
Cass,
heartbreak. Oh,
yeah,
God.
You see Cass kind of well up a little bit. He gets a little tear in his eyes when he hears this. And he tells her that over 150 years, he's been stabbed, chopped up, blown up, dropped out of airplanes, but he just kept going because that's what you do. You just got to pick yourself up and forget the pain and try to carry on. And he goes on to tell her that her mom had shot him twice in the chest and the heart. And then his voice starts to quiver. Like, he is acting his ass off right here. And his voice starts to quiver. And he says, and even though that was years ago, it still hurts. And in the background, we hear Tulip and Jesse's grandchildren running around. It's starting to get emotional up in here. And their mom turns around. Again, I don't know her name. I'm assuming it's Tulip as well. And she tells them to behave and be respectful. And then she apologizes to Cass for their behavior. And he's like, oh, it's all right. I think I'll get going. She asks him where he's going to go. Bangkok? Tijuana? I always did love hearing about your adventures. And Cass tells her, no, I think I'll try someplace new. And as he makes to leave, she calls him. She's like, Mr. Cassidy? He turns around. She says, will we ever see you again? And then that Van Morrison Sweet Thing song kicks in again, starts to play. And Cass pauses for a moment, looks at her and he tells her, Jesus, I hope so. They smile at each other and he leaves. And when she turns around, she fails to notice that Cass has taken his umbrella that he was using for shade, hangs it up on one of the headstones. He walks into the sunlight, setting himself ablaze. And ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the Preacher series.
Oh, what a perfect ending! Perfect ending!
Yo, I swear, I know it's cheesy, but I think this has more to do with the actual show, like our show. But I literally got goosebumps when I said that.
Oh, dude, what a perfect ending.
Yeah, man. I mean,
think about what they did there. He walks off into the sunset.
Yeah. For what it was and how they changed the story, like we said at the top of the show, I don't think it could have been any better.
It was, and there was so many little hits. Like when he said, your mom shot me in the heart twice. Is he talking about literal shots, or is like she broke my heart and it still hurts?
She did shoot him twice when they were fighting.
Yeah, but is that what he was talking about?
I don't know. It kind of seems like he was speaking metaphorically too.
Yes, he was like, it still hurts.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, dude.
I mean, here we are, man. We have made it all the way through the series.
Yes, we have.
How do you feel, dude?
I feel fantastic. I'm going to miss it, but the thing is, man, I believe that it ended on a perfect note. I believe that's exactly how it's supposed to go out. We started this pod in a way that was just like a dream. Yeah, we'll record. Okay, let's do it. Yeah, we'll do it one day. Then we did it. And then we kept on doing it. And then we kept on doing it. And ups and downs through the episodes. Some were good. Some were bad. Seasons were okay. But then to stick the landing so perfectly, it's almost like, and then we stuck the landing for the pod. It's just a perfect ending. And it's a wonderful note to go out on.
Oh, man, I agree. And now, Steve, we have to rate this bad boy. And this time, I think we have to do 2 different ratings.
Okay.
First one, we're going to rate the episode. Second one, we're going to rate the entire series.
Okay.
While you think about it, I'm going to go ahead and give you my rating. So as far as this episode goes, I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 5 smoking bullet holes because it was that good.
Whew. I mean, I have to give it...
Real quick, before you say a word, you literally said it was a perfect episode.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. I know what I'll give it. 5 out of 5 shots to the heart.
Like Bon Jovi? Nice.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, because he said she shot me twice in the heart.
Yeah, no, I got you. I'm just kidding.
No, yeah, I don't.
That's good, man. That's good.
It's a perfect episode of... For me, what I needed from the show, when it ended, I just said, it was perfect.
I think that I only gave it a 4.5 just because it was the star thing that got me, to be honest with you.
I know. The star thing
I feel they didn't stick the landing on that. But it is what it is. But other than that, I agree with you. Other than that one particular thing, it was kind of a perfect episode.
It was just, I might go back and watch the Preacher God conversation. That's surprising.
I might go back and watch the entire series again. I'm not ready to give this shit up, dude. I'm having a hard time.
I'm going to read the series first.
Separation anxiety. Yeah, I agree. I think we'll give it a little bit of time, let it marinate a little bit, and then come back to it. But yes, I think at some point I will come back and watch the entire thing. Totally. Now, series rating, Steve. This is a little bit different.
As a series as a whole, I'm going to give it 3.5 Saints of Killers.
Nice. I'm going to give it 3.75 Wars in the Sun.
There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the game. And now, before I leave, I'm going to say thank you guys for listening. You're going to hear me again, but some of you guys may not listen to the call-in show. So everyone that's listening now, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here through this long, wonderful, awesome ride, listening to our complaints and our love and all this stuff. The next voice you're going to be hearing is Dan telling you what he has in store for this wonderful Saturday. People, peace out.
Wow. This is my final sign off with this one, man. It's kind of weird. You were going where I was going. I actually have a list of thank yous that I want to give out. So if you allow me that for just a second. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank the one and only Johnny Bucks for coming into our lives. We've met a very good friend through this show, and it's fantastic. Johnny, thank you so much for playing the game where we sent you some preacher pins, and it turns out that we're connected, man. Spiritually, it's fantastic. Thank you for being a part of this. Pat Houlihan. Major player in this game because he was the one who connected us with greatness. If it wasn't for Pat Houlihan, we would not have talked to David Blass. We would not have talked to Julianne Emery. Pat, you're the man. Thank you so much. And now some major players. So we have Tyson, and his Twitter handle is @preacher_on_AMC. You, as well as Marcus from Preacher Wiki, @Preacher Wiki, have been doing the Lord's work, gentlemen. Thank you so much for keeping Preacher in people's faces the entire time. Even when the season wasn't happening, you guys have done an amazing job, and I wish you nothing but success in whatever you guys do. Thank you so much for contributing to the show. I mean that sincerely. I want to address Bill Sweeney from the Preacher vs. Preacher podcast. I don't even know if you're going to listen to this, man, but I just want to thank you so much for being another part of the congregation that kept Preacher going. I really feel, now that everything is said and done, that if it wasn't for people like even ourselves, you, Tyson and Marcus, all the Twitter people, and the guys from Preacher Podcast, we wouldn't have really, and also David Blass, because he was the production designer for seasons 1 and 2, and you can find him @Dave Blass on Twitter. All of you people were such superstars on Twitter, and you just kept it in the public eye. Not to mention Kevin Lingenfelser. You can get him at @Fuchipatas, FUCHIPATAS. He was the visual effects supervisor for seasons 1 through 3. My man Malcolm Barrett, who came on the show, thank you so much. He played Hoover, and you can find him @Malcolm Barrett, just like it reads. And then, of course, the one and the only Julianne Emery, our star player. Thank you so much for all the time that you gave us. I can't thank you enough for that. You're a wonderful person. Steve and I wish nothing but the best to you and Kevin. Really, we honestly mean that. And of course, all of our listeners, retweeters, emailers, and anyone that ever said the word The Unofficial Preacher Podcast without stuttering it and telling friends about it. Thank you guys. I could not end it without saying thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for sticking with us for 4 seasons. It has been so much fun. And Steve and I have taken nothing but pleasure with the show. Even when we didn't care for what was going on in the series, we've always had the pleasure of talking to you people, and you made this very special for us. So before I get too emotional, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Ladies and gentlemen, be good to yourselves. Be good to the people around you. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you for listening.
To the world.